Perfect. Welcome, everybody. We're very excited to be here today, and I wanted to especially welcome all of the entrepreneurs, esports gamers, investors, and everyone that joins us today. Welcome to eSports Mini Conference, our 99th OPN event. Very exciting. Wayne Gretzky. It's beautiful. Quick intro to myself. My name is Jeffery Potvin, and I'm the founder and I guess one of the drivers behind OPN. And I want to thank everybody again for joining us today. Please feel free to connect on LinkedIn if we haven't connected, but thank you again. So to everybody, happy Earth Day. Overall, a fantastic day that we've got going on today so far. So a little bit about ourselves. We have a couple of events coming up just to take note to. We have our E2E event next week, really exciting. The last one we did was 14 companies pitched in 7 countries. Our pitch program, Skip the Line, it starts now, and we'll be executing that on May 19th and 20th. And our final investor pitch is on May 26th, which is in front of 50 plus global investors. It's a 7-minute pitch, 10 minutes of Q&A. And we're excited to help early stage companies get access to funding. And how does that work? Well, we created our own little space in between all of the angel and VC groups. We work with Techstars and all of the Founders Institute, all the incubators and accelerators to run through deal flow, and we help angel companies get ready for investment. We're part of multiple angel groups, so we do work with and operate with inside of their businesses to help feed them with fantastic businesses. And today we're going to talk to and have some of those companies that are going to pitch. So as I mentioned on our program, what we look at, it's 10 companies. We qualify 8 of them at the end. Through those 300 companies we see a month, we net them down, work with them on a consultation and coaching side, build their data room and get them pitching. And then from there, it's a 7-minute pitch with 10 minutes of Q&A. And we're always amazed, but we love the fact that we've got such a great group of screening members and part of such a large global investment community. We'd like to also call out one of our early investors in both of our funds, big supporter, big fan of what we do. We're a huge fan of what Angelo Del Duca does, and he was nominated for an award, which we wanted to support and recognize to the community today. But Angelo's not only been a great part of what we do and a big supporter, but he's been a great mentor and coach to so many startups and businesses throughout the ecosystem that we really did want to shine a light on him today and thank him for all he does in the community. He's a great friend and a great person, and we're just excited to be able to work with him every day and be part of all the great things he does for the early stage startup community. So Angelo, thank you very much for always being part of it. You're a good man, and we like having you join us every time because you're always providing a lot of insight, and it's been a huge value to the ecosystem. So thank you. So today's agenda, really quick, really exciting, but we're going to jump into our keynote with Ben Pfefferman, which I'm super excited to hear what he's going to be talking about today. On that side, we've also got 3 panels. Our esports striving for diversity, esports path to pro, and how is esports evolving, engaging fans. Globally, we've got a lot of great esports players, startup businesses, and everybody that likes to jump in to participate in this. And of course, at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a mini pitch esport event where we have a great selection of global startups that are going to be pitching. So thank you for joining us, and please stay tuned throughout all of this. There's going to be some amazing speakers and content that we're going to be driving forward. So without further ado, I'm going to be introducing Ben Pfefferman. As mentioned, keynote, super excited to have him here today. Ben is the CEO of Amuka eSports, and they are a Canadian leading esports platform. Really amazing in what these guys have done. We can go back to Ben's film career, from documentary creation to all of the great things he's done, but the biggest one is all about Amuka Capital and what they've been able to do in this space. I think they classified Ben as being, well, I think he's a Jedi, but I think there was something, and he can remind us of what that was, but he is Yoda to esports, just a rock star in the space, and really opened up this space over the last 5 years. And outside of that, when Ben isn't spending all of his time helping and working in the esports arena, accelerating, incubating great startups, he's also a Fortnite streamer and has a big family. So really exciting to have you here today.
Thank you. Sound check, testing, 1, 2, 3. Ben, what did you eat for breakfast? We all good?
Yeah, you're good to go, ready to roll.
Awesome.
Ben, you want me to share the screen, or I will turn that over to you?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you for the introduction. And yeah, thank you to the hosts, to Jeffrey and to Laura for organizing this great event. It's a great opportunity to be able to talk to everyone and really sort of share sort of my vision and sort of what I'm seeing in the esports industry. So thank you. What I don't want to do is I don't want to give you the typical esports stats, that we've kind of all heard and thrown around. I think at this point, you probably know it's $1 billion industry. You probably know that the gaming industry as a whole, it's a $150 billion industry. And, Goldman's predicting this will hit 300 billion in 5 years. You've also probably heard the stat that more people watch League of Legends than they did the Super Bowl, and these are outstanding things. And the player base for PUBG Mobile exceeds most countries on this planet. But I think these stats and the size of the industry really doesn't do justice to what gaming in particular is doing as a cultural phenomenon. And I kind of just want to start by a very quick story. Last night, I was on a conference call with a Jewish organization, and they wanted to talk about how they can engage Jewish youth with online programming. And evidently, the conversation moved towards Twitch and how we can use the platform, and I gave a few suggestions. And after the meeting, the rabbi sent me the following text, and I think this is very important to the discussion we're going to have today. So he said, I'll just read it. Feel like a dinosaur. People like to watch other people play video games and talk about them playing games. Gewalt, which means like, oh my, P.S. nice beard. Okay, so that's the message I get from this rabbi. And I had a chuckle, and I was thinking, how am I going to reply? And so what I said to him was, just replace the word video games with football, and the whole thing makes sense. So let's read back the text again and put in the word football. Feel like a dinosaur. People like to watch other people play football and talk about them playing football. Gewalt, P.S. nice beard. That makes total sense. Watching people play football is so normal. So where's that block that people still find it weird that people watch other people play video games? So what I want to do to really unpack this all is kind of try to understand 3 big questions that are, I think, obstacles for really getting what the whole gaming industry is trying to get. So one is, let's talk about why is it weird that people think it's weird that people watch other people play video games. What about all this talk about video games being, violent and detrimental to kids and all the negative impacts? And what's the deal with streaming and its sort of bigger impact on the whole, 2-screen ecosystem and everything else? So I think once we unpack these 3, I think we're going to have a really good idea of what we're talking about today. Okay, so the problem of, when people ask me at cocktail parties or whatever, what do you do? And I tell them, and that's a typical response. I just don't understand how people watch other people play video games. And I was always, always bothered by that discussion because there's so much garbage on TV. Like, I fill in the blank. I can't believe people watch other people watch the Kardashians. I can't believe people watch other people watch this and that. And, there's so much out there. So why do people have this block? And I struggled with it and thinking about it, like, why is it? It's still so weird. And then I tried to put myself in their shoes. And, what's interesting is cricket. I don't know if you know, cricket is actually the second most played sport in the world. And I was thinking, if someone pitched me a cricket deal, I would probably have the same response. I can't believe people watch cricket, talk about cricket, everything like that. I'd have the same objections to this. And at the end of the day, I have to really ask myself, why is that? Why is there that block? And at the end of the day, I came to the realization is because we don't know the rules. When you don't know the rules of a game, it makes total sense. It's insanity. To me, I don't know the rules of cricket. They're hitting a ball. They don't even wear baseball gloves. The scores are really high. For some reason, it always ends in a tie. My ignorance is what drives my inability to appreciate what probably is an amazing game, which is cricket. And it's the same thing. We pull it back to video games. If you don't understand the rules and the gameplay and the strategy of League of Legends or Overwatch or these games, they're really complete nonsense. So that's kind of the first step, is to say, it's not so easy to say, okay, everyone who's interested in esports and gaming, go learn all the rules of the games. But I think that we're at the point now where the broadcasts and things like that have sort of done an okay job that you can kind of watch some esports and get it. But it's for sure one of the biggest pain points in terms of growing that audience is that I myself, I don't know, Laura, I don't know if you play League of Legends, or Jeff, you too, but I don't play the game. So if we went to a bar and watched a League of Legends match, we wouldn't know what the hell's going on. And there's no casters on the earth that could explain it in a simple broadcast. What we can really learn from, I think, in that respect, is poker. When poker came to the scene, to television, I don't know, 20 plus years ago, it was the exact same conversation. I can't believe people watch other people play cards. I can't believe poker's a sport. I can't believe it's on TV. And what I think really changed that is they made the viewing experience so simple that even if you didn't really know the rules of poker, you could still follow along. They had everyone's chip counts. They had the percentages of you've win. They really went over what's the flop and the river, and all the terms you need, antes and things like that. So that if you didn't know about poker, you'd watch it, and then millions of people started to play poker, because they created a viewing experience that was interesting and had a low barrier to understand. So the only way we're going to kind of solve and understand this problem of why is it weird that people think other people play video games is that kind of that shift between, okay, if I want to understand this, I got to spend a little bit of time to watch it. I have to spend a little bit of time to understand the rules. And then only then can I appreciate sort of the magnitude of what's going on. I hope that's clear. Second problem I want to address is, when people talk about that esports, that could be a professional career, that you could go to college, a lot of that is bundled up with the negative aspects of video game playing, especially, at a professional level. You're playing for 8 to 10 hours a day. It's a sedentary sport. The diet often includes unhealthy things like, energy drinks and chips and things like that. But I think we're really kind of missing the point on what esports, especially at the competitive level in high school and collegiate, has really done for society. If you back up 10 or 20 years, everything in school revolves around sports. The cool kids are the ones that are on the high school football team or basketball team, whatever it is. And if you were a kid in, before computers, and you didn't fit into that traditional sports mold, it's very tough for kids. You don't have that same confidence. You don't feel good about yourself. Everyone's good at baseball and this and that. and you're not. And there's a whole generation of kids that I think just didn't grow up having that confidence because they didn't fit in with traditional sports. All of a sudden comes esports. All of a sudden, you have the ability to then say, I'm going to go, I'm going to play a game and actually I can excel at it. And not only that, I'm playing with people around the world. I'm learning problem solving. I'm learning how to communicate. I'm learning how to be a team player. I'm learning all these skills, and it empowered like a whole player base to say, hey, I didn't think I was good at anything, but now I know I'm good at something and I'm passionate about it. And that shift is really is so substantial right now between yes, there's always been this focus on traditional sports at the collegiate level and as part of your education experience. And finally, now esports athletes and enthusiasts are saying, you know what? Big esports pros are celebrities. People want their autograph. You can aspire to that. And just because you may have physical limitations that keep you out of that traditional sport sort of lexicon, doesn't mean that you're not going to find success in something else. At the same time, we would all be remiss if we didn't identify that for sure, just like with anything, too much of something is not a good thing. And we can't just be cheerleaders of video games and esports and saying great, without addressing that there's for sure major risks. And these have to do with both, physical risks in terms of, things like carpal tunnel and other injuries from that sedentary gameplay. But arguably even bigger is the mental health aspect. There's a lot of pressure to be good. There's a sort of culture around the more you play, the better, grinding the game and things like that. And, your gaming experience kind of lives with you 24/7. If you have a shit game on the basketball court, odds are it's kind of going to stay on that basketball court. Tends to be with esports that, for better, for worse, it never leaves you. And so these are definitely challenges with, ensuring that we're creating the proper communities and that we're, really identifying potential issues with toxic communities that would totally really kill the joy and the passion and everything that's great about, competitive gameplay. The last problem I want to talk about really is Twitch. And this is just, it's such a huge part of understanding the cultural phenomenon of gaming is Twitch. I like basketball and I like the Raptors. So, if I want to watch Kyle Lowry play basketball, what's my engagement with him? So my opportunity to engage with Lowry, is one of my favorite players, is game day, maybe an interview on a practice day, and maybe, a post-game interview. That's it. So this person who I idolize and I want to connect with, the way it's set up in the traditional sports engagement sort of arena is so limited. Gaming is totally different. Streamers, the top streamers make a ton of money. We're talking about millions and millions of dollars. And yet everyday people give them money to support them. And that's weird, right? If, again, going back to Kyle Lowry, if he had a good game, it would be weird for me to go up to him and say, hey, here's $5, great game, love the hustle on the court. It would be even weird if he was online to email him, each transfer him $5, $10 and say, I really love what you're doing, right? We just don't do that. It's just bizarre, but yet it's so natural in the gaming world where you're watching a streamer, you're watching someone play video games, and you're going to support them by subscribing to their channel or making a donation. So what's the difference, and what can we really extrapolate from this? With the way streaming is set up is you're inviting someone into your life and you're engaging with them sometimes every single day. If you're streaming daily, you have an opportunity to talk to your fans. You can read out their comments. You can answer their questions. All these things create this unbelievable connection. Like, what's the value of an Instagram of an Instagram follow? Like, it's so meaningless, with following the engagement level you have with your celebrities and your favorite people on Instagram and Twitter. In the gaming world, it's a total 180. And I think until people really understand that, they're missing this cultural revolution. It's no surprise that the biggest music festival in the history of the world is Fortnite. 25 million people tuning into Travis Scott. Top artists like Steve Aoki and Deadmau5, Diplo, all are coming into this platform because they know the engagement is so much stronger. Musicians, T-Pain, other professional musicians are using Twitch as a platform. I follow a great rapper called Murs. He goes on Twitch and he freestyles with all the comments in the chat. Like, how cool is that? I could say, OPN Ninja, and then he's going to freestyle with that in it. Like, that's the type of amazing engagements that you are getting with, again, I'm saying Twitch, but I also mean, I'm including some of the other platforms, Facebook Gaming and YouTube, which are building the similar functionality, but you're creating these unbelievable relationships with people. The last sort of thing within that sort of ecosystem is the ability for everyone to create a community and to monetize their community, right? If you want to play basketball, like, you're probably not making money as a high school varsity basketball player. You're probably not really making money in Canada as a Canadian varsity basketball player. So you really have to get to the top threshold really to have any type of monetization. And you have to be good, right? You can't just be a really entertaining basketball player who's, if you suck, and you're not making the team. Like, that's it. There's no personality that is going to save you from that. But if you're a good person and people connect with you and want to have those relationships and connections, you can build your stream. And I think from that, it's really, really empowering thousands, millions of people to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to get out there. I'm going to play some games. I'm going to talk to people, and I'm going to, really sort of build up my, my community like that. So I think, today we can, it's obviously important when we're looking at sort of, talking about investments and pitching and things like that. We got to understand that this is still a early stage business. Again, eSports, which is playing video games at a competitive level, is $1 billion and change. That's not even a percent of the whole gaming industry. And when I say eSports, that just means playing video games competitively. It could be for $20 in a beer league. It could be for $40 million in front of 100,000 fans, at big majors. So we're really only scratching the surface, and a lot of companies are really trying to figure out, they've built a great fan base, but how they monetize it. So all these things are in its early stage, and it's important to understand market size and addressable market and all those things. But more important is, I think we have to understand that this is a cultural phenomenon that is really just taking off, and it has really just begun. So I hope everyone gets a lot out of the amazing speakers that are here today. Jeffrey and Laura, you guys built a great panel. I'm very excited to see, and I think there might be a couple of minutes. I saw a lot of questions pop up, so I'm happy to take any questions from the audience.
Awesome, Ben. Thank you very much for that. I was taking notes like crazy. I loved everything you had to say. How did you feel being being in the driver's seat? Because I think that today was not only is it Earth Day, but it was you taking over the stage. So is this going to be something you're going to be doing way more often? Because I think you should. Yeah,
thank you. No, absolutely. I'm passionate about it, and I always love to share some thoughts and ideas.
I love it. I do have some, I loved a couple of points. I'm going to go to my interview hat now. So a couple of points from, pretty much ignorance ruins perspective. And I think that a lot of what you were sharing at the beginning was that a lot of the times we're not looking past our own experience. And then we can knock it and we can say it's terrible and I don't get it, like your cricket example. But really at the end of the day, this is something that is massive, and it really ties in someone to find a culture or find something they can belong to. And I think that that's what I really took out of what you said today. And what I loved about that is that no matter who you are and what you are, you can find a spot to fit in. And this is a platform to be yourself, fit in, build a community around it. It's really accepting. I think Laura will attest to this, that everybody, when she was putting this all together, and thank you, Laura, for being an awesome rock star in this, is that she said, man, everybody in this platform, eSports, are so nice. They're so amazing. And I can say that in all my years in the gaming world, I can say that that's 100% the truth. It's a lot of good people trying to find their way. And I think you really knocked that home. And it probably started back in that Dungeons and Dragons day when everybody just thought, wow, this is so difficult. These people are weird. And what they didn't realize is that these people were very strategic, methodical thinkers, creative, and they were actually amazing people that were doing something that just world didn't understand. And today we're doing something the world isn't understanding. And if you just take a step forward and really learn about what's going on, you can really build up an amazing community and find a place to fit in this world and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And I'll even add just that multi-generational connection. Like I've got kids that are 6 and 5 and 3, but if I have to watch another Paw Patrol episode, I'm going to blow my brains out. Like it's just, I have no interest in like some of the TV content that's out there for kids. Now that my kids like can fire up the Xbox and play Roblox, I'm there with them. Like I love it. But like if I come in and see Peppa Pig, I'm out of there. I'm going to go scroll Instagram because it's like so boring for me. So I just find as a father, gaming has gave me this great opportunity to do things with my kids. I don't think I don't watch TV with my kids. I do, but this to really get engaged and get excited about entertainment, and that's a huge part of it.
And when you look at this right now, how much has changed from the early days of the internet where you were building this online persona versus the reality? And how much has this space changed that to being just the real reality? You're not building this persona anymore. It's just you going after it and everybody kind of getting in and joining that drive. Is that kind of what you're seeing now? It's really breaking down those barriers and just being yourself and really driving it home?
Yeah, I think the real kind of turn, and again, like the industry is still 20 plus years old, the early LAN tournaments of the late 70s. But if I were to really pick out like an inflection point or a TSN turning point is 2019, the summer of the Fortnite World Cup, where at Arthur Ashe Stadium, you have a 16-year-old kid who takes home $3 million, every mother's worst nightmare, where it's like all of a sudden, like everyone's going to say, hey, look at Kyle, he made 3 mil, like, I'm going to grind out in Fortnite. And that was the peak. That's like money started flowing into esports. Like it was insane. He took home more than, Federer or other greats have done on that very same court. So we saw a pullback with COVID and a lot of valuations went down, and there was an important reckoning. But I think now kind of year 2 of this pandemic, we're all back again. And now that LAN events are back for some of the big major events, everyone's getting excited again.
I love it. All right, one last question before we jump into this exciting panel. You mentioned the LAN games. I was having total date like memories. I was just thinking, that's crazy. Thinking all of the LAN games that we used to play back in the day. Give us your first experience of when you jumped into this space and how it went.
Yeah, I mean, I was like really dominating with NHL 93, 94 on college camp, when I was in university. This was, like very unofficial tournaments. And I've never competed really. I'm trying, I'm building up with Fortnite. I play a little Counter-Strike. People ask me, am I good at Fortnite? And I say no. But if you were to line up all the 37-year-olds, yeah, I think like age adjusted. So I'm excited to see kind of like some leagues and more tournaments for older guys to compete. And that's when I'm really gonna, show people what I got.
I love it. Love it. All right. Well, let's transition now into our panel if that works for you guys. So Jessica, Marcus, and Catherine, if you guys can raise your hand, we'll bring you into the mix. Marcus, why don't you give us a little bit of a background on yourself, just a 30-second intro, and then we'll go from there, please.
Yeah, thank you all for joining the event. Let me know if my audio is messed up because I'm a noob at streaming, so my setup is not where it needs to be. I got room to grow. But I got Super Mario Brothers 3 for Christmas when I was 6. Been playing video games ever since. It taught me to get into and pursue technology career. Been a software developer the last 15 years. Jumped into the gaming industry 2013 because I was building my own game and couldn't find a way to scale an audience for it. So my brother and I, twin brother and I, we built a solution for that called Project MQ. That scaled to 40 countries. We saw a major opportunity in 2017 for eSports, and now we're connecting brands of all sizes to eSports so they can virtually engage their entire communities. So again, glad to be a part of this. Thank you for this opportunity.
Love it. Thank you very much, Marcus. Catherine, why don't you jump in next?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Super excited to be here. I'm Kat DeShields Moon. I've had the opportunity to bebop all across the gaming and esports industry. So games journalist to working for a marketing firm that dealt with indie games to community management at High Res Studios to partnerships at Skillshot Media. And now I have the privilege of dabbling in VR with Shell Games. Been a gamer my whole life. Super excited for the lineup. Know Marcus very well. Big fan of his work and everything that he's done. And it's going to be a great afternoon. Thanks for having me.
I love it. Thank you. Jessica.
Hey, everyone. So thank you for having me here. My name is Jessica, also known as JMeds. I'm the founder of Fem Gaming. I've been working in the gaming and esports industry since 2014, just working at several PlayStation, NBA, NHL events, representing PlayStation, as well as working with World Gaming Network, and seeing how esports has evolved in the last 5 to 6 years is incredible. So basically, we're just here to empower female gamers and make sure that their skill sets are being highlighted in the esports industry, because really we see a lot of female gamers, 45%, but they're definitely not represented in the pro sports. So we're here to change that.
I love it. So we've got a great panel for diversity, and we're kind of all touching on that diversity by just the comments and the introductions. So I kind of want to kick it off by, Catherine, if you can share a little bit about what diversity means to you, because we've had a few discussions on this, and I think you can line this up to a nice, perfect kind of panel chat to how this diversity is going on in esports, where it's come from, but where it is really today.
Yeah. First, I love to start with the actual definition of diversity, right? Because a lot of people think, oh, diversity, women, oh, diversity, Black people. And that's so far from the truth, right? So, and I'm quote, diversity is the practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and of different genders, sexual orientations, beliefs, mental ability, and so on. So it's a very, very, very wide net. And statistics today show that gaming and esports could be a little bit more diverse than it is right now. So essentially, diversity in gaming and esports in particular is much, much more than establishing an all women's esports team, even though there is definitely a place for that. It's much, much more than just, oh, well, we're going to get more Black and brown talent. It's being inclusive of the neurodiverse, of different ages. Esports doesn't have to be a young thing. I'm not as young as I used to be, so I'm kind of an old fuddy-duddy, like to a lot of these esports players out there. So it's really about expanding the network and the opportunity and the education around this industry to bring more and more people in. Because, we all know that gaming is super, super diverse. There's no reason why esports shouldn't be the same.
Totally agree with that. And what's fascinating about the diversity, there's different ages all across the board where people are joining from, 6 years old all the way up to 60 years old. And one of the things that we chatted to, and I think Marcus, you really kind of alluded to this, and you had a bunch of different stats to kind of support how this diversity needs to change. And how do you see that this is changing in larger cities and around the country, especially that you're in the US? How are you starting to see that esports is changing cultures, changing the way people are interacting? And is it happening more? And are you seeing that growth occurring that gets you guys excited about what you're doing in this platform?
Great question. I think it's starting to grow. We're starting to see it. And I think last year was a major catalyst for it. You've got the Queens Gaming Collective. You've got HBCU Heroes, Community, all these different organizations around specific demographics that are starting to spawn, no pun intended, but the issue that, or I guess the opportunity here is something that Kat mentioned earlier. What we really need to see is kind of a full inclusion, not these segregated silos of demographics, but where everyone, regardless of their age, their race, their gender, their geography, can participate in esports the same way you see in gaming. And I think it's no coincidence that the gaming industry, again, is north of 150, somewhere between 150, 175 billion dollar industry with 3 billion 3.5 billion gamers nearly worldwide. And you don't see that same kind of diversity and that growth represented in esports because it's so exclusive. You know, if you're not roughly 16 to 24, you're not a blue chip brand, and in many cases, white or Asian male, there's not really a space for you in esports. So that's the growth opportunity. And we even talked about last week, the entire region of Africa is excluded from esports. That's 1.3 billion people. So there's definitely opportunity. We've seen some progress, but there's a lot of work to be done in the space.
And Jessica, with what you're doing on your side of building into this space, which is phenomenal that you're focusing it on the female structure and trying to get more female gamers out there, how are you finding the educational side of this is working? Because as Lucas mentioned, you've got groups that are starting, you're getting into that educational side, but really there's so much more that can be brought down to colleges, universities, secondary schools, primary schools, to start to get them to feel, hey, I should be going into this. I should learn about this space and become more educated. How are you finding that kind of journey is working for you guys?
It's going well. I think, you know, in the past year, we've definitely seen the esports and gaming industry explode and kind of go into mainstream entertainment, which is awesome. I think diversity definitely needs to start at the elementary school level because we do see esports programs in colleges and universities now, but we don't see it at the high school level and we don't see it at the elementary school level. And that's very important, them learning about esports and gaming at that level, because for some reason, when people play online, they have this tendency to be extremely toxic. And that's because they weren't taught any better. And that's also because we allow it to happen for so long. People tell me, oh, well, you know, you play Call of Duty, of course you're going to get that. But what do you mean? Why? But why is that the case? You know, so we definitely need to see it at the elementary school level, and not only just teaching them about esports and gaming, but teaching them about online etiquette and how really, you know, I think when we think about online versus reality 10, 20 years ago, there was such a big difference. But nowadays, online is reality. Like there's no difference. We've all been in a lockdown for the past year or almost in very, you know, we've been in barriers wherever we are. And for some reason, I've connected with so many people online, and some of them are my closest friends now, and I've never met them. So we have to get off this notation that because you're online, you're not in the real world. The real world is online, and there needs to be etiquette, and that needs to be taught at a very young age, how to interact and be polite online, just as we do in person.
So Catherine, how do you see what Jessica was just sharing, which I think is amazing, because you really do have to go all the way down, which is the same thing with starting a company in early stage startups. It's getting that focus, but really early. It's not saying, hey, now you're out of university, you should start thinking about building a company. It should have been happening at that 6-7-year-old side of things where, hey, these are possibilities. These are areas that you can get into. You got to start exploring them. How do you see that narrative changing? And what kind of things can everybody here today look at doing to help that?
Yeah, no, that's great. And really, it starts with your circle of influence. There's not going to be any one magical organization or endeavor or initiative that's going to solve this. You know, so it's going to take the collective efforts of everyone from elementary all the way up to the professionals in the industry, you know, to strengthen the good, to get rid of the bad, you know, and just drive change like in your circle of influence. So the beautiful thing is that even though everyone here is very, very familiar with gaming and esports, we can look to non-endemic companies too for guidance and how to navigate this. For example, the US government just started a program with Games for Change for a virtual exchange program for students, to foster social impact games, making more of those, you know, so there's not any like one panacea, you know, for this problem. And largely, I think step one is educating outward about the opportunities, you know, hey, like, yeah, you girl can code, you can make a whole video game. Like, don't think that that's something that you can't do, or, hey, you don't have a $3,000 PC, but hey, there's resources out there for you. Let's get you into gaming. But it also requires managing like your communities and making sure that they're in line with what you're about and you're trying to accomplish. And then educating yourself, if you are a leader at an organization or you have a voice. Everybody has a voice. Let's not play games. Everybody has a voice. Being real about where you are. And it's like, hey, we don't do this great. What do we need to do to be better at this for the benefit of ourselves, but for the industry at large? So education, iteration. Like, that's what is really going to take in order for this thing to start moving the way it needs to be.
And does that start by the players, the people that like yourselves that are really fitting into this space? You're becoming very well known in this space. Does it start with you guys being the celebrities? You guys are kind of like the NBA team right now. You guys are the Raptors for me. And, you guys, I'm looking at you thinking, you are walking out onto the court and you guys are representing this whole space. Does that where it starts for you guys to kind of mirror what we're doing, to participate on how we're doing it? Like Marcus, you're very vocal online. You're doing a lot of things. Is that start with you? Does it start by, if my demeanor carries through, that's going to get more kids, more people excited and want to join? And then how do they join? How do they become part of this change and get part of this larger entity of esports and online gaming?
I think Kat made a great point. It's about starting with your sphere of influence. So perfect example. Last year we had a Startup Week Tampa Bay event. It's an annual event. And I went out of my way. I was invited to be the captain of the esports gaming kind of track. I went out of my way to make sure intentionally that I had the maximum amount of diversity and representation in that track as possible. So I'm honored that J Meds was one of the speakers, and she spoke at length and very candidly about the experience of women in gaming. So it's that type of opportunity. I could have just chosen people who were here in Tampa Bay, or just men or just Black people, but I made sure that I had as much representation and inclusion in my sphere of influence where I can. And I also sit on I'm a co-chair for the Inclusion Lives Here committee for the entire state of Florida. So I do that same thing as well in non-gaming spaces as I'm introducing those leaders to gaming and esports, so that when we start to have that conversation, now they understand what kind of perspectives they need to bring to make sure everyone is engaged.
Love it. Jessica, how are you finding that's working for you? I don't like to layer questions that way, but man, this is good answers. So I kind of have to get you to jump into that too.
Can we just repeat the question so I'm on direct topic?
For sure. So when all of this is happening in this environment and you're educating people and you're going into those layers, and as Marcus was saying, being vocal, but also finding ways inside of your own sphere to start bringing diversity into these panels, into conversations, and really trying to influence the youth from what you're doing as being that celebrity NBA player. Are you finding that you're able to do that? And how do you infiltrate those groups and communities so that they can start to learn and grow upwards from there?
Yeah, thank you for considering me to be a celebrity. I don't. So I just do this because I'm super passionate about it, and I just wanted to see change in the industry, honestly. Yeah, doing panels like this, and when Marcus reached out to me and I did that panel, I think that's really what changed for Femme Gaming. And thank you, because he really uplifted me and made Femme Gaming, a batter in the game, and made me noticeable on LinkedIn. So I really appreciate that. And so me not just being part of all female panels, me saying, yes, I'll be part of that panel in Tampa Bay really helps. And just using my voice to speak about women experiences really helps. I think, doing panels like this where you have Black women, Black men, white women, I would love to see. I'm going to be doing a podcast next week, and I'm bringing one of my community coordinators, and she's a transgender woman. And I've never seen a transgender woman in esports on a panel. And so I'm so happy to bring her on next week. And I've never seen someone with a disability on a panel, because people with disabilities, they're able to communicate. And so I think we need to see more people like that, not just people that look like me, like a typical white woman. We need to see people like transgender women with disabilities, old women, like 65-year-old gamers, like everyone. We need to be super inclusive, and yeah.
Is there an overall governing body that's kind of immersing from this? Because mental health is becoming a big component to everything that's going on in this space right now. So is there kind of someone that's kind of pulling out, an organization that's working down at the community levels to educate and bring people into gaming online? And then is there a governing body that's kind of looking at this from a mental health perspective, or reducing sexual harassment? Like, is there things that you guys are seeing that are changing, that are coming into this space because it's moving so rapidly? And like in normal big business, you kind of have these structures that are set up everywhere. Is that starting to expand, or is that more of an opportunity in this space?
I definitely see it expanding. I don't know if anyone's heard of Gamer Safer. They're a wonderful company, and they're doing a lot for game safety online. I also work with the Equity Gaming Project, and they're going into the space and trying to make it better. So I definitely feel like there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of projects. However, we don't have that one identity as looking over all of esports, where all of us can go to that group and be like, hey, like, can you set some standards here? Because no one's setting standards. There's nothing. Everyone's kind of doing it on their own. And I would definitely love to see some sort of big like an official esports committee of the world representing everyone and setting the standards for us all. And I don't know if there is something like that, but they should be doing a better job if there is.
Feel like we should be calling out an industry or somebody in there to jump on that one. But Marcus, because you are so community built, do you see that this is something that's also needed, but something that maybe you're jumping into, or that you have organizations that you feel will be helping? Because I think when we were chatting last time, there was a real passion for helping smaller communities getting online, and that was through mobile and utilizing that as your gateway into this whole industry. So is there something that can really help build this up? Because I think there's probably a lot of passive people that really want to get into the space and they don't know how to. And then when they do get their kids online, like someone mentioned here, they have to keep it in mute to play because the trash talk is so bad. So is there, and that's not an environment that you want your 6 and 8-year-old or 10-year-old kid playing in. So, is there something that comes out of this in the end?
I think there's always the potential there. What I'd love to see is a consortium of industry leaders, like platform providers and game publishers, investors like yourself, Ben Pfefferman, other people who are heavily involved in the community, Kat and Jessica, obviously, to come together and say we need to start somewhere, right? I have not seen kind of this global overarching body, but I think there's an opportunity for us to just piecemeal it together and start local, as Kat said, and scale up. That's really the only way that you can have effective impact, because of the level of the proximity and the level of influence that you have.
And Catherine, on your side, we were chatting a bit to how that youth and the career side can look in this space. How do you see that engagement working, and how can you, I'm not going to say that you can take out all of the bad stuff, but how do you get someone excited about this opportunity? And again, across all age groups, cultures, backgrounds, and how do you get people more interested in this space?
Well, I think, just from the statistics of how many people game across age, demographics, all of that, like the interest is definitely there. The understanding isn't completely baked in yet. In esports alone, there's, at least 60 career paths, right? And there's still this general vibe that, oh my goodness, if my child plays video games, they're going to be in my basement until they're 45, huffing Mountain Dew and pizza. And that's so far from the truth, right? There's like right here, right now, we have a whole bunch of professionals working in the industry. And a lot of those things, like myself, I'm in public relations, you can find PR in corporate, structures, but there's a place for it in gaming and esports too, so I think it's a mix of active professionals going out and just go speak to your high school or a college or, the Boys and Girls Club. Tell them about what you do, just so that they have like, oh, wow, this person works in the gaming industry and I could do something like that too. Take the time to talk to parents. They're like, what? You work in esports? What's even that? Talk to them about like, yeah, I understand that, it's new, it's evolving very quickly, but there's a lot of opportunity there. And it all it takes is your time, really, to reach somebody, and you might change the trajectory of somebody's life, in that moment. And I'm not being glib about it, but it's very true. Like you're opening a whole doorway that people didn't even know existed, and that's a very, very powerful thing. And then, of course, as esports and gaming continues to grow, finding ways to get that in schools, in libraries, and after school programs, like really, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it's exposure and it's education. Like that's really what it's going to take. And there's a lot of money in the industry. There's a lot of people that are working in the industry, and there's absolutely no reason why everybody shouldn't understand what esports has to offer the same way everybody wants their kid to grow up to be an NFL or an NBA athlete. It's the same thing, and I'd really hate for people to miss the boat because we're not being vocal or aggressive enough in sharing the opportunities and the wonderful things that this industry has to offer. It's not perfect yet, but nothing is, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
I love it. Optimism is key there. And you're right. It's going to keep growing and changing when you have good people like yourselves that are coming in to make that difference. And that's what's going to keep it moving forward one step at a time. And there's Susan pointed out that there is an Olympic organization, a global esports federation, top leadership that has been recently established. They need to be connected to the grassroots organization to be in touch with the diversity, inclusion, and education in esports world. So 100% agree with that. So there is something there that exists. And I think that's just kind of everybody figuring out how to grassroot it. And maybe that's that individual that says, I want to get in this space, and they build a community in their region, if it's in Tampa Bay or it's in Toronto or it's in a small little town, but it's them trying to build people into what they're doing and building out a team or building out at least an environment for everybody to participate in. I know that Ben's got some rapid fire questions for you guys. So we're gonna get Ben back in there to throw these down because we are going to learn a little bit more about you guys. But I will throw out one kind of encompassing question that each one of you can jump in before Ben does the rapid fire, is from diversity and what we've kind of talked about today. What's one thing that you would like people, or two things that you would like people to at least keep in mind when they're playing or when they're joining or when they're doing anything in this environment that you would recommend? Or two things you're going to work on that are going to really try to help change this environment to make it a better, safer, and more inclusive environment? And I'll let Marcus go because I see the hand move, so he's ready to jump in. So Marcus, jump away.
Yeah, great question. One of the things that we're working on with MetaArena is really expanding the scope of what esports is. And I mean that from the perspective of game titles, right? There's over 1.3 million games in this global gaming industry. But when you look at esports, it's the same 20 to 50 titles. So you're basically forcing everyone to play those 20 to 50 experiences. And that in itself is exclusive. So if you include more games, now you have things that may appeal to the 51% of gamers in the US who are women, or the fact that the average gamer is 35 to 44, they may not want to play Twitch shooters, right? So adding those extra games creates a larger opportunity for more people to get involved, and then we can build extra communities around that. And I think that's how we achieve scale. It also allows us to bring in small and medium businesses as sponsors, right? You may not, this is an extreme example, but you might not have Huggies want to sponsor a Call of Duty tournament. But if you found the right game for Huggies, well, now you've got more dollars coming in where you wouldn't have earlier.
I love it. Jessica, how about you?
Just to be aware when you're playing video games online, as much as you may think it's your space, it's everyone's space. You never know what someone's going through, and you may think that calling someone a certain name is just game talk, and you're just, you do it to everyone, and it doesn't matter if they're male or female. You don't know what that woman has gone through in their life, and that could scar her and make her not want to play games, or not just her, but him. Any racist comment, like, I'm all for shit talking as long as it's not homophobic, sexist, or racist.
Is there a gauging inside of this? Like, when people are talking, are there people kind of like saying, hey man, that was inappropriate, log them off, or does that type of thing happen?
Well, I've been playing Call of Duty for like 15 years, and it's changed dramatically. Only in the last 3 months have I seen men be like, yo, what do you, like, shut up, like, can you not talk to her that way, like, that's disgusting. But in a year ago, it was, they would just jump on, or they would just ignore the fact that was happening. So I definitely see change, thankfully, but I definitely would like to see more.
Okay, awesome. Catherine, how about yourself?
Yeah, so shameless plug. I have a company called Divertiga, and it is a platform for industry professionals to come together as a think tank to advance diversity and inclusion. And fortunately, I'm in the pitch session later this afternoon, so learn more there. But from a personal perspective, reach across the aisle. Sit down and play a game with a cousin who's like, oh, gaming's stupid. Find something, connect there. Talk to a non-endemic business partner about, hey, we could work together. This is what we can do. Let's brainstorm. You don't have to change the world in that conversation. You don't have to make them a gamer in that minute, but that second of exposure, that drawing somebody in, like, on a one-on-one level and just being real with them, those tiny moments lead up to very pivotal, big shifts, right? What is it, like the concept of 1% gains or something like that? I'm probably misquoting it, but that thing, that's what we need to do. And, it's so easy. Don't overthink it. Just do what you can do as an individual, and collectively we can rock this thing.
If I can just want to add one thing, talking about sort of toxicity and what do you do in these situations. It actually happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I'm in a Fortnite game, and there's a kid who's really running his mouth at the beginning of the game, and an older guy, again, I can't see them, just judging by his vocabulary, starts making all these racial comments against this kid, and goes on. And before I can even say anything, the kid then starts making all these homophobic comments towards this guy, and they're both going, one's making these comments one way, one's making these comments the other way. So I'm like, well, what do I do? So I'm like, I can't get a word in, and they're just going off. So I mute one of them. I tell the other guy to mute the kid, and then I speak to the older guy, and I explain to him, like, you're better than that. Like, this is ridiculous. You can't be doing this. Like, yes, the kid's running his mouth, but like, you're an adult. And then did the same thing, told the kid, hey, I already spoke to this guy, but just if you can gauge kind of one-on-one, at least I had the opportunity to say, yeah, I know what he said was wrong, but it doesn't mean you make these comments the other way. And, I flagged both their epic IDs. I don't know if that does anything, but I think that's really the only way that, as you're playing and you see it, you have to try to identify and do something about it.
No, that's awesome. And I love the fact that you're taking that stance, because it does change the room, and it changes people to be more cognizant when they learn from people that are taking a stance. A lot of time we sit back and don't make the comments. I think that kind of entices it to keep going, and then it doesn't end. So, I'm thinking back from when I was doing LAN parties to we ran servers on our end, and we would run Call of Duty servers and everything else, and Roger's trying to shut us down, and Flynn pinging the hell out of us and trying to drop our servers. This was 15, 20 years ago. And back then it wasn't very communicative. People were talking, but they weren't as aggressive. And it started to go that space. And that's kind of where I felt off, because I just didn't feel it was appropriate. So I'm glad that now it's gone to that state where everybody's jumping in and trying to stop it before it becomes too aggressive and ruins the community that's being built. So Ben's got some rapid fire questions, which I'm excited to hear. So Ben, take it over.
Yeah, sure. So just looking for some short answers, just to break it up, have a little fun here. Let's not take it too seriously. So let's start off. What is your guilty pleasure game? So maybe I'll just go left to right on my screen. Marcus.
Knockout City, it launches May 21st next month. It's like Dodgeball plus Street Fighter plus NBA Jam. Check it out.
Wow, very cool. Okay, Kat.
It's this mobile game called Homescapes, and it's like a match 3, and you like renovate a house while you do it. I spend too much time and money on that game. I promise I do.
Nice. Okay, good. And Jessica.
I'm actually pretty proud of everything, and but I guess one thing that I guess what would be like Roller Coaster Tycoon, or what a game like that where you go in and create your own world. That's definitely a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah. Okay, great. Hopefully everyone knows there's a huge court battle between Apple and Epic. Who's going to win that court case? Let's just go through again.
I guess that's Apple. They have terms of service, and Epic violated the terms of service. It's pretty cut and dry there.
Yeah. Okay. What else? What do you guys? Yeah, Kat?
+1 to that.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow, 3-0 for Apple. Wow. Okay. I thought the gaming community would stand by Epic, but okay. I actually agree too. I don't think they stand a chance. Who do you think is the most?
We hope that they fight. So we hope it goes well. I think Epic does need to step up, even though they did wrong.
Yeah, definitely going to be very interesting to watch that one play out. Just, talking about toxicity, who do you think is the most kind of hated or like toxic streamer out there that, maybe shouldn't be in the scene?
I don't watch a lot of streamers, but I've heard bad things about PewDiePie from time to time. So maybe all his stuff's not toxic, but I've seen him in the headlines for being toxic.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I unfortunately don't follow a lot of toxic players. I don't follow a lot of streamers unless they're streaming eSports. So I unfortunately don't know a lot about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I follow a lot of like small grassroots community organizations, and we have chill vibes there. So,
yeah. Okay. I want to turn up the heat a little bit. If I want to be a little controversial, okay. There's a very controversial category of Twitch called hot tub streamers. This is pretty much as it sounds, people gaming or sometimes not even gaming in hot tub attire. Empowering, objectifying. What do you think of the hot tub meta?
I think that as long as it's all, how can it be in good taste? But yeah, as long as it's all in good taste and no one's offending anyone, and once again, no one's being racist, homophobic, sexist, anti-Semitic, like as long as everyone's just having fun and having a good time, I don't see a problem with it. As Twitch is turned into entertainment, not just a gaming channel, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Okay. What do you guys think?
I agree. It's just like they're just chatting, right? They're just finding other ways to make it non-gaming content so they can get a wider audience. So as long as, everyone's in their swimsuits, then hopefully it's an even keel there. But Twitch has had some bad history with that type of content in the past.
They're implementing a dress code. So we'll see where that goes. Yeah. Okay. Kat, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with what J Meds and Marcus said. And, ultimately it's like, what's going down in chat? Like, if that is all disrespectful and funky and ugly, then yeah, we need to do something about that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Last question for you guys. Chess has made a massive comeback on Twitch. Is there another board game that you think might have a chance to, make a comeback on Twitch?
I think an interesting one might be Clue, strictly because of the Among Us phenomenon last year. I feel like that was like a digital version of Clue.
That's a great point. Yeah, great suggestion.
I think if you could do like a virtual Risk. I remember that game was really popular and overtaking the countries and just getting worldwide domination. I think that would be fun, and you can get the whole world involved. Like everyone would love to do that. So I think that would be cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't think Extreme Solitaire would be too interesting, but I'd be curious to see Monopoly, and then use it as an educational tool in terms of like real estate and whatnot. just because I think there is a lot of inherent power in taking games and applying it to real life education and situations. So I think that would be very interesting, especially if we get some business tycoons in on that.
Okay, hopefully it's all great suggestions. Hopefully any up and coming streamers have some potential new ideas. But yeah, that's it for the lightning round. So thank you guys.
I love it. That was great. There was a company yesterday we chatted with. It was in the Super Chess. So utilizing that platform, and they've reinvented the whole way that it works. Which was very exciting. So I think that there's a lot of movement happening to say, how can I take something that was existing and change this into a way better format that's more online based and turn it into a real exciting game. So I think we're going to see a lot of that happening in the upcoming years, which is going to really blow this whole esports and gaming industry right wide open. So there's Queen's Gambit, infuse the interest. There's lots of comments in here. You guys will have to go in and read them. Christopher pointed out that he's part of the Global Esports Federation. They were asking, what grassroots organization do you think should be in touch with?
I guess reach out to each of us directly and we'll connect you with our networks. And, it's just kind of an each one, reach one opportunity there. Okay,
awesome. They just pointed out they'd like to see Mastermind digitized too. So very cool. Awesome. Well, I'm going to say thank you very much, you guys. I always like to leave everybody with the last word. So Catherine, maybe you want to share one last thought, comment, feeling, whatever you like to do. Floor is yours. And then we'll do Jessica and Marcus, but any last parting words. But thank you very much for joining us today.
I don't know. Thank you for this and the opportunity. Always great meeting people. I think my last word is, in gaming and esports in particular, a diverse workforce creates diverse experiences. And it's very, very important, to do what you can in your circle of influence to enact change. Don't wait for some invitation. Just do it. Just do the thing.
I love it. Jessica.
I just really quickly wanted to touch upon why we don't actually see women in esports, even though there is 45% gamers and 5% esports players. It's typically because the fact the past 20, 30 years, online gaming has been a safe place for the white typical male to go on and build relationships and foster their skills. Whereas women weren't be able to do that. We weren't able to go online and build our skills and build those relationships. These esports players that we see now have been playing these games since they were 10-year-old boys. And they were able to go on and talk to each other and meet and build that skill set. No one's born an esports player. You've built that since you were a child. So now if we have safer environments, women will be able to meet each other online. Same with gay people, like they'll be able to go online and not hear the homophobic comments, and the same with Black people. They'll be able to go online and not hear the racist comments and build relationships safely, like the typical white male has been doing for years. And that's the only reason why we see them in esports, because they've been able to build their skill set in a safe, not in a safe manner, but in a manner that they were comfortable in. So I just want to really say that, and I'm happy things are changing. And I don't think also we knew that there was all these other women players playing. I think we only thought we were the only one playing. And now we know, that person who has their mic off, she's probably a girl. And now we know that. And so it's quite interesting. I would love to see the evolution of female players in the esports scene.
Brilliant. Well said. I like that. Marcus.
Yeah, I want to echo, thanks for this opportunity, and it's great to connect with all of you. And I invite the other panelists, J-Meds and Kat, to share your LinkedIn link in the chat so everyone who's watching can connect with you. But my parting thought is that this isn't just a moral imperative, it's a business imperative. Because again, we're looking at esports as $1 billion market versus what might be, closer to approaching $200 billion gaming industry. And by becoming more inclusive, you can create more opportunities to generate revenue. Again, the Black community is the greatest consumer of gaming content across all racial demographics. Again, 51% of gamers in the US are women. So if you create a more inclusive environment, you create more opportunities for people to watch content, engage in content, and spend money on companies, content, brands, things of that nature. So creating more inclusive opportunities create more revenue opportunities. And we certainly need some revenue opportunities here in esports.
Welcome. Thank you very much, guys. Very well said. All three of you guys. Again, you guys are the NBA stars right now. So keep pushing that out. Huge respect. Thank you again for joining us. Please jump in on the panel side, on the chats, post your LinkedIn, and keep growing and keep showing people what it takes to be in the esports industry. You guys are great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, we have Alicia, Bill, and Anthony. So if you guys could raise your hands, I'm going to bring you guys into the panel. Alicia, maybe you can give us a little bit of a background on yourself, a quick intro, and thank you guys all for joining us.
For sure. Hello, everyone. I am Alicia Junis. I'm the owner of Accelerate Gaming. I'm also an international shoutcaster for Soul Calibur 6, Tekken World Tour, as well as Dead or Alive 6 World Championships. On top of all of that as well, I'm also like a YouTube partner, and I started learning about content creation recently because my players content create, so I want to understand them a little bit more. And that's a little spiel about me. Also was featured in an Amazon Prime documentary series, a little bit about my gaming history, and then also on top of that was nominated for Top Female Shoutcaster of the Year in 2020.
Amazing. That's awesome. You are esports. I love that.
I am.
Great background. Bill, you're up.
Hey everyone, Bill. I'm co-founder of Beat Esports. I've been in esports for 10 years. I've worked with Valve, Blizzard, Bethesda, Tencent, a bunch of major publishers. Hosted one of the first Canadian hockey arena events for Dota 2. I was in the Bell Center in 2016. I currently freelance on tech and esports at the moment. And I've been featured in ESPN, Global News, LifeWire, Score, and more. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. Thank you again, Bill. Great background as well. Anthony.
My name is Anthony Redoblato. I am the founder of Imaginix. When I was a kid, I actually competed in local Cineplex tournaments. So I got first place in like a Street Fighter 2 tournament. By 1994, I was competing in the 1994 Blockbuster Video Game Championships, where I got third place. But today I own Imaginix, and we're building an esports gaming entertainment hub. So in my spare time, I like to play Fortnite and Rocket League, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I think that that was all amazing intros. You guys have a really depth background in anything and everything to do on this esports side. So we're very excited that we get to chat with you guys today. So today we're going to talk about, which is, kind of the path to being a pro and where you guys have come from and kind of how you got into this space and not just around, where you are today, but what it took to get to where you are today in this space. And maybe we can start that off by, and Anthony, you brought that just by sharing a little bit about your first competition. Maybe you want to touch a little bit more on that and share a bit to the community of kind of where that started and what got you interested and why you decided to jump into this online competition.
Well, first off, I love video games. I used to play more video games than do my homework. So I would probably play for about 8 to 10 hours a day. And maybe 5 to 6 hours during the week. So I started with Super Mario Brothers, played a lot of Nintendo. My thumb started to bend because I played so much. Then I started getting into Street Fighter 2 and started playing that. So I decided there was a local competition and I decided to put my skills to the test. Me and my brother both joined the tournament. I ended up getting first and my brother got second. So it was a really cool experience and my first foray into esports. And then came along the 1994 Blockbuster Video Game Championship, And I was playing games like Donkey Kong Country, NBA Jam, and they just so happened to be using those games for the tournament. So I started practicing more, put in 8 to 10 hours a day, and I got third place and got free movies out of that. So that was my experience. Yeah.
Amazing. And Alicia, I have to go around the horn on this because everybody's going to have their own little unique experience. So maybe you can share what got you into this space.
What got me into the space, interestingly enough, was random old guys in arcades. I used to be really, really antisocial as a kid. Had really, really poor social skills, actually. Surprisingly enough, now I talk for a living. But yeah, when I was young, I definitely had really regressed social skills. And it was something that my family really tried to help me with, but it was kind of hitting like a brick wall at one point. And what I used to always be fascinated with was gaming. And I used to go to arcades and play with these older dudes huddled around fighting game machines. So it was usually like Soul Blade and like the original Tekkens. And it's where I started to actually be able to talk to people, because though I was bad socially for other elements, it was something I was actually more comfortable with, was asking questions and being curious about a game. And from there, it just progressed. It just completely throttled me forward when it came to talking to people. And it started from such a humble beginning, which was, try to like sell my recess snacks when I was like 9 years old to kids at school for quarters, just so I could go play at these arcades every day. And yeah, it created this competitive drive within me, and carrying it throughout my life, and just being really thankful to gaming to bring people together no matter what, and especially this online era now too. So.
Oh, that's a great story. Bill, how about yourself?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I was a fan of Dota 2 and StarCraft. So I used to watch Dota and StarCraft a lot back in the day. But how I got started was I started a community fan site on Dota 2, Canada, basically. And we hosted a tournament for $100. That was our start. So it's like 4 teams. We didn't do very well, and we learned a lot, basically. And then, over time, we kept at it, and we worked with Valve. We got in-game items in the game. We got a community chest, crowdfunded some money, and then we hosted an arena event in Dota in Bell Center. So that was like a couple of years ago, and then we're still at it, and I've evolved ever since. So I think it's a continuous evolution, to be honest. So yeah.
Brilliant. Ben, I got to ask you what your starting game was that got you into this as well.
Yeah, for me, I mean, as a player, as a kid, it was really just getting in front of NES in the late 80s. My next door neighbor, actually, he's the head of Bloom Burton, like huge, very successful healthcare executive, taught me everything I know about video games. But it was sports. Like, I sucked at real sports, and I just tried to make up for that with video games. So it's the NHLs, the NBAs, and that really carried me.
Love it. I think I probably it feels like back then I probably blew $1 billion on track and field, put the pencil on there, just going like, but back in those days, I don't know what I spent, but it felt like that. I probably could have been a millionaire. Or arcade games were pretty popular too, right? So those are pretty big, as Alicia said. So now you guys you've kind of taken this journey that you've been on since you were a kid and moved your way through, and that's pretty common today. And I think one of the things that we really wanted to learn more about is how do I get into this competitive nature of this? So Anthony, when you started out, you kind of went into it. How did you find out about it? What got you driven into doing more of this competitive side? And how can you share with the community on ways that they can participate? Because maybe they want to make money. Maybe they want to build a business out of this. What kind of advice or what things have you gone through that really helped you hone a skill and feel that this was a good spot for you to kind of grow in?
Well, first off, if anything, it's all about having a passion for all of this, starting really young. And if anything, today, like compared to when I was, like, I had to find out through newspapers. The internet was just sort of growing with, the old times with AOL CDs and dial-up. So, I mean, I had to find out through newspaper, a little bit of internet. And through word of mouth. I think it was my mom who found the Cineblix tournament in the Toronto Star. So she ended up signing us up, and I got in through there. But if you're if I were to go through it today, I mean, it's about having supportive parents, having the right equipment, and if anything, joining, the right community to go into all of this. But yeah, it's if anything, that's how I went about it. Yeah.
And how much has that changed to today? Like you mentioned that there's different ways. Is it all forum based? Is it figuring out where to get into this and just start to move your way around the ecosystem?
Sure. If anything, it would be creating your account on Twitch, and to just start streaming. I don't think there's any other thing to put the practice in, because if you want to get really good, you should probably put about anywhere from 10 hours a day plus. I mean, I know they don't recommend doing 18-hour days because it has other effects on you. But if anything, you should put about 10 hours a day, really pick one game and one platform, because you're going to really want to, sort of own your craft playing these video games. You don't want to diversify too much. And if anything, create that Twitch account, start streaming, and pick that one game, and you're good to go.
So there's a lot of focus built into this sport. So it is kind of like, as I mentioned in the previous panel, you guys are the NBA stars right now, and you've got kind of that one card that you're playing, or you're a basketball player and you're focusing on that. So Bill, in what you've experienced and gone through in your career now to where you are today, what was your focus? Was it built to become, again, building these platforms into large arenas? What was that focus for you? And was it more of being an operator versus a gamer?
Yeah, so for me, it's more about an operator. I was good at Dota, but I was never professional. So I realized that pretty quickly. So I decided to do tournaments instead. For someone getting involved in the space, it's a little daunting sometimes, potentially, as a newcomer. So, I feel that the community is fairly open. So sometimes, having a candid conversation with someone on, your business idea, or, what you want to do or accomplish can help. So if there's anyone on here on listening, send me a note. Why not, right? And the other things are, when I started, there weren't really a lot of opportunities, so I had to make my own opportunities at the time. So it's very difficult in Canada, especially, to look for an esports company. So we decided just to make our own and do something and see where it went. There wasn't really a goal in mind at the beginning to be like, yeah, we're going to do a hockey arena in 2016. It was more like, okay, let's see where this goes and who we work with and the journey, to be honest. So. Yeah.
Which again is pretty exciting that you saw the opportunity regardless. And instead of doing it from a gaming perspective, you went in it from a business perspective. And I think community wise, people would be just as interested to understand, well, how did you do this as a community, build a business versus looking at yourself like, I have to be a gamer. That's the only way I'm going to crack into this industry. And you kind of reverse that angle. So when you made that decision, was it, hey, I'm just not good at gaming? Or was it, I love this community and I can see an opportunity here that I got to go after? Yeah,
I mean, I really like the community. So what I just, you have to be passionate too, right? So if you're in it only for the money, then, we all know esports is still growing revenue wise. So we decided, okay, how are we going to pay prize pools? How are we going to pay players? How are we going to pay ourselves? So we decided, okay, what's the business model for a tournament organizer? That includes sponsorship, in-game cosmetics, selling your rights to other streaming platforms. And then, if we had a COVID-free environment, ticket sales, merchandise, that sort of thing. So, that's how we kind of evolved over time. We figured out our business model and kind of grew it as well. So, yeah.
I love it. And Alicia, how do you fit in this space with, and you do a lot of things, and now, like you said, more on the content side, but what got you started in this, like that first game, and where you decided, hey, I'm amazing at this, I'm just going to drive it through from the gaming side, and then you kind of grew into the marketing side and said, hey, you know what, if I want to be great at X, I got to promote myself and I got to find a way to create a vehicle here to drive me forward?
For sure. Yeah. So I guess I'll tackle this in like a 3-part sort of system here. So when it came to me originally as a competitor, it started off with me like entering into tournaments and being recognized rather quickly. Though I used to hide my face back then and people didn't really know who I was except for this sort of omniscient person on the internet that happened to be a female. And to the point where I didn't even like use a camera or anything. So I was very determined for people to not know who I was, but rather my ability and the level that I played at. And that's something that I carried on with me when it came to my company as well, was that we wanted to take on talent, not based on appearances, not based on hitting a diversity quota or not even a diversity quota, but based on talent. It was something that I had. Like I was just a really good player. And when it came to tournaments, people would crowd around me watching me being like, who is this girl and why is she playing against Sonic Fox? Like what is happening here, right? And it was just really cool to see that sort of develop because it just gained a lot of respect. Was that competing and just going out there and giving it a shot earned me the respect purely through the fact that I was good at the game. And I guess it was also sort of a hindrance at the same time though, because when you go in person and you are a female and a woman of color, even the worst thing you could be in gaming, people tend to kind of put you on a back burner or tend to almost want to like dim your light, and they aren't scared to say something rude around you, which is also crazy. Like they just are offhanded about everything, but you push through it all and it gives you even more of a platform to shine because you're proving, I guess, the sort of negative mentality towards you and your people incorrect. And it definitely just pushed me way further along my career path because of that. When it came to commentary, not so much like pick a game and become good at it. It's just you either got it or you're not. You're either charismatic or you're not. And I luckily am. So that worked out for me when it came to that. Also, the fact that I love numbers and I love just like analyzing anything and everything. So when it came to commentary, like I can look at a move and tell you how many frames it is, how much the other person's like moves it in relation to those frames, take advantage. I can do something like that on the fly without thinking. So it kind of just meshed perfectly. It came to my company. That was me saying, hey, do you know what? Like, one, I love the community. Two, I do have a business mentality. How can I make this coincide with one another? How can I take this to the next step where in this baby industry that is esports, where it's growing rapidly, of course, but it's just like the film industry 50 years ago, right? Where, of course, the film industry now is it's just this massive enigma. But it started somewheres. And it was at the same point where I find esports is right now, like 50 years ago for film, where it's massive and it's blowing up, but it has such a massive trajectory it's going on. Why not start that for one game category itself, which is the fighting game community, where it started off as a grassroots scene and being one of the pioneers in its evolution to make it into a competitive pro gaming scene.
That's awesome. And great story. I like the mystery person playing the game and crushing it, and everybody getting behind this mystery person and finding out it's a woman, and you're like, yeah, too bad, move aside, I'm crushing this game. People are getting behind it, so that's amazing. And Bill, when you've built all this stuff out, what made you decide what is a great gamer? Because you went in as a gamer, coming out as a business, and now you're actually bringing gamers into your platform. So you must have to go through them and decide, okay, is this person good? Is this person bad? Is this person toxic? Can they really crush it? Are you looking for people that have got, I don't know, 1 million Twitch followers because you want to really be able to amp up what you're doing, even if they're not a great gamer, but they're okay? So what are the types of things that you're looking for in order to get somebody better suited into the space and growing?
Depends on the audience and depends on the tournament I'm running. So there's 2 different types. Generally, there's a competitive tournament and this other ones are chill matches, kind of like Twitch rivals, that sort of thing. If it's a competitive tournament, I will try to scout the teams that are as good as possible. So I don't particularly care because I want the best competitive tournament that I can get as a tournament organizer. So in kind, what happens is players are receptive to me inviting them because they're recognized for their skills. And then the audience is then saying, wow, the team was really good. No one gave them a chance except you guys. I'm going to tune in next time and watch. So there's kind of a marketing component as well if you put on a good tournament and that's well received by players and audience. So from the competitive side, that's what I look for. Best possible that I can afford with my budget. Because, budget comes into mind now, especially with players. and teams. So you have to take that into account. And then from a kind of a Twitch rivals or show match side, that one is more along the lines of, okay, who's popular? If it's a one-day show match, we try to get as many people and eyeballs on the product as we can, rather than not necessarily always the best player. So that makes sense. Yeah.
And is it always team based?
It depends the game. So some will be individual based, some will be team. As a tournament organizer, you have to adapt. So yeah.
Very cool. And Anthony, on your side, being this early gamer and hitting the market up, what defines a gamer to you? What do you think really defines someone that could go pro? I think the big question is, I've been playing for 20 years. Am I awesome? And can you make me a pro? Or what do I got to do to become pro? And what gets me into this position of playing 10 hours a day? Because I'd rather be playing games and being strategic about it than working my 9 to 5.
Well, if anything, aside from playing 10 to 15 hours, as Alicia mentioned, you have to have some sort of natural talent, I believe. And putting that extra hours of practice, you're sort of nurturing that. So if anything, that's what I think would make a pro, is learning strategies, developing your eye and hand coordination, developing all your abilities in the game, and knowing all the game mechanics. Of whether, no matter what game it is, you got to be really thorough. And the thing is with all of this is everything could change today. So the game is like the football, and every time a publisher publishes an update, like the entire game could change. So it's really important to stay up to date. Really important to put in those hours of work, and that's what I think makes you a pro.
So there's another element that really kind of tweaks my interest in being a pro or working your way to a pro. And that's really based around the audience and how you can interact with the audience. And I'm going to kind of guess, Alicia, that you probably knocked this one out of the park when it comes to having an online real personality that people can get behind. So is it kind of like that old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease? Is it the loud, the volume? Or is it that you're able to, one, back it up by being a great player, and two, being able to talk your way and entertain people? So you're almost your own entertainment channel while you're gaming. Is that a better way to describe how a player needs to work their way up? Can you have a professional that's amazing that's got 5 followers on Twitch, or it's a pretty good chance that that's not going to be the case?
I think that would just have to be around the definition of what is a good professional. Right? Because if you have 5 followers, even if you're a god at the game, you're no longer a good professional. And that's the unfortunate circumstance that is today. I think that everyone has potential based on their personality. So for example, if you are like a 5 follower streamer who's a god at the game, but at the same time, you have the charisma and the personality behind it, you could be a worthy investment. Where what you just need is just a platform to actually kind of accelerate further, which is the whole point of my company's title was Accelerate Gaming. But yeah, which is kind of how we started. We have like one player that we have in general, he never competed in a tournament, had maybe 100 followers at the time when he started, and he just played phenomenally. So we sponsored him to go to his first tournament, and he came in second at a majors in the professional league at his first tournament. And it was something that we didn't fully expect out of him, but we wanted to see what could happen here. And it's sometimes these people who are, I guess, more on the smaller end, who are charismatic and put this drive and effort in, who are also extremely talented, just don't get the recognition they deserve. And that's where becoming, I guess, really smart in the sense of how social media works is important, right? A good example was that I guess at the peak of when I was commentating, this has been back in 2019, when events were still on a strong front. I was the first female commentator for a top 8 at EVO, which is the largest fighting game tournament in the world. And when it came to that tournament, I was like, okay, this is my one chance to like shove myself from being just an esports caster for the FGC and one that's an internationally acclaimed commentator, and to make sure that I establish myself as a top commentator and not just a top female shoutcaster. So with that, I took to Twitter, I took to everything, like running, absolutely sprinting, right? To make sure my impressions got up to about 5 million impressions per month on Twitter. where I was like, I need to make sure that I get up there and my engagement follows suit. And there's nothing people love more than being honest and being vulnerable. And I think where we're separating from 2018, 2017's age of perfect lifestyles, perfect homes, perfect cars, into an era of we want real people. We're all locked up in our homes. We want to see real people being real. And I do that all the time. If I'm playing an emotional game and I cry during a cutscene, I cry during a cutscene. If I am excited over something, I will yell. If I'm upset, I will say I'm upset. Like, it's one of those things where it's so taken for granted how much being a real person can help your branding, because people want to see real people being human.
It's amazing. One that you can turn that off and on and just go with the flow. I think that's incredible. So now that you found Bill, meet Alicia, Alicia, meet Bill. I think Alicia's going to really help on your gaming side. I think she should be at almost every event. I think you carry a lot of, 5 million followers and everything else. That's incredible. So I think you
5 million impressions per month. So
that's still incredible. So you carry a lot of impact in this space. And I think that really defines you as not only as a business or you could almost classify it as a character in this space, but it drives people to connect in and feel comfortable inside of it. Because just like on my end, I've been following different people that write on the space. And I've been following certain writers for like 10, 15 years. And I just love reading their content because it's really hyper-focused in an area. So to me, they're the rock star of that space. And I think that's what you need to build up as a persona inside of this esports or just gaming in general, is that you got to build that persona. And I think you've done an incredible job doing that. So from the platforms and being competitive, Bill, there's certain aspects that you look for that you want as a team driver with people they can do when they're joining your events. So are you guys streaming across all platforms? Are you guys really blowing this up? So yes, you're in a big forum, you're at the Bell Center, but are you streaming it across Twitch and every other platform that's going to drive value back to you and to those players?
Okay, so it depends on your contract as a tournament organizer. You may have exclusive rights. So if you're partnered with YouTube or Twitch, they may have exclusivity clauses. So you'd have an exclusive clause with them for a certain amount of time, and then you can export to YouTube or those other platforms. Now, generally, tournaments or dated content doesn't age too well beyond like a month or two. So you want to be timely on when you export the content or get those Twitch clips in as the event is going on, so you can get those impressions and those retweets. Now, in terms of foreign languages, generally you'll have some sort of agreement as a tournament organizer to sell the rights. Now, let's say a Chinese broadcaster wants to buy your tournament, they'll pay some money, so they have exclusive rights in China for your tournament. So you would give them a clean feed, and they put the tournament on in their language as well. So that's how it kind of works as a tournament organizer for distribution. Now, if I didn't have any exclusivity clauses, then yeah, I would try to get as many eyeballs out as possible on different platforms. But contracts come into play, publishers come into play. They may not want you to stream on a certain platform. So there's a lot of factors as a tournament organizer that you have to take into account for. So
it sounds like it's pretty complicated when you're trying to build an environment to get a lot of people in on all sides to it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, it may have not been as complex, but then, as you realize the business models and, the control publishers have and, the contracts, then it gets a little bit more complex on, relationship management and making sure you know what you're signing up for. So, yeah, for sure.
Incredible. Ben, I'll throw you back into the mix again, Ben, because I want to tie more into the question around when you started gaming and when you started to kind of fit into this environment. Were you going and you started to accelerate and incubate a lot of these startups inside of, again, the esports space? How did you feel, and where did that value come for you? Where did you see that exchange occurring in value? Was it getting behind that esports player and growing with that as Alicia's doing, or was it more on the business side and trying to build that function in that could build something bigger and better over the next few years?
Yeah, well, firstly, shout out to Anthony. Imaginix was a member of Level 6 the last cohort that we have. I think that the genesis was someone sent me an esports deck and they confused like revenue, expenses, and profit. And that was just kind of like the tipping point for me where I said, listen, like you can't rival, the passion, but I think the business acumen is really necessary. And there wasn't really an incubator out there. So that's why we launched it at the end of 2019. And that person who made that mistake actually came into the incubator, and everything's good now. And he learned a lot of the critical business skills, financial modeling, and things like that. But that's what we try to encourage is to build a really exciting schedule of industry professionals that are going to be hands-on. And even though I'm an advisor of other incubators, and they're great, but I think like at the end of the day, people need help to get their product or service into market and to do it in a practical way. And that's sort of what we try to do with our incubator.
I like it. And I guess from Anthony's perspective on where that's kind of taken him and the learning that he's gained from this, does it still feed back, even though it's a business, does it feed back to the gamer? Does it help educate them through that gaming to become a pro at any point in time? Or is it just strictly on the business side?
Are you talking about for me? So for me, it's strictly on the business side for me. And I'm really glad to have gone through level 6 with Ben, learned a lot. But yeah, for me, basically what I do today is we're building a gaming entertainment hub. It's kind of like Twitch, and it's kind of like for the next generation of gamers. We're doing exclusive content. We're going to be doing live streaming, and thank you to Ben and his with level 6. I was able to learn a lot more about the business, sort of fine tweak it, get financial modeling, learn more about the market. So for me, it was a very helpful process to go through. And now we're kind of gearing up to launch very soon. Yeah.
Love it. So everybody in this space is kind of early stage been the gamer, and they've worked themselves through the stages of growth as a gamer. And now they've kind of looked at this, hey man, I'm part of this universe. I love it. I'm passionate about it. I think there's a bigger opportunity here. I'm going to help others, but I'm going to create a business and kind of drive it through there. So I love that you've all kind of shifted from being that gamer. And Alicia, are you still playing 10, 12 hours a day as the mystery lady, or are you kind of taking a different approach?
Definitely not playing that many hours a day. But harboring other people to play that many hours a day for sure. But for myself, not as much. So.
Okay. I was just checking because I'm like, you'd have a busy day then. We're running a business and playing 10 hours a day or more. So no, that's brilliant. Well, I think we're gonna shift a little bit into Ben's questions, because Ben's got these great rapid fire questions, and then that'll allow us to kind of reseed it. But I think overall, what I love about what you guys have all done, again, outside of taking yourself from a player and moving right into the business side of it, is that you found opportunities, you found a way to professionalize something you had a lot of passion for. And I've been part of multiple gaming studios going into them. There's one right down the street at Young Street. Been in there multiple times. Yonge and Dundas was just north. But such an amazing space and such a great amount of people that join into this. So kudos for you guys for kind of making that shift and growing it into something even more exciting. Ben, over to you.
All right. Want to break things up, make it a little light, make it fun. Great to see you guys. Great to see you guys again. So let's kick it off. I want to hear predictions. 5 years from now, what is going to be the biggest game in the world, any platform, or you could say something new?
I would have to say it's not going to be a competitive game. It's going to be a collaborative game. So in reality, the reason why Among Us blew up the way that it did, even though it was a game that was released in 2018, it was the fact there was able to be so many hotshot celebrities in gaming, as well as outside of gaming, able to participate in this game. Collaborative work is one of the best things to rake in viewership. And then on top of that, the next step beyond that is the fact that it needs to be easy and digestible for people outside of gaming organically, which is why Among Us had the success that it did. I think that's the next step for 5 years from now, is that we're going to see games like that where they're less of an esports scene and more of a scene that's understandable for anybody involved, and including those who arguably organic to gaming, but done at a competitive level as well. Same thing for Among Us, where there's Among Us tournaments. Even myself have played in an Among Us tournament rather recently. I think it was about a month ago, where like there's still like a point system, there's still like a rating and a laddering, and so things like that still do apply, but doing it with other like hotshot creators as well.
Okay, great. So Among Us and the Jimmy Fallon with the Roots and the cast of Stranger Things, like these are these awesome collaborations. All right, let's rapid fire these. Bill, what do you think? 5 years, who's taking the title?
The game doesn't exist right now. It's going to be something casual that appeals to the masses, probably, like Alicia said. That's what I think. So
Nice. Anthony?
So I think the game doesn't exist right now. I do agree with Alicia where it's going to be collaborative. But if anything, it's going to be easy to pick up and hard to compete with just to make it fun. But definitely collaborative all the way.
Okay. Everyone agrees. Okay, I'm going to try to we'll step up the controversy here. On the topic of predictions, 5 years out, is Twitch still the leader or can somebody catch them? Anthony, what do you think? Rapid fire it.
I think it's going to be Dreamplay, the platform we're building.
Nice. Bill, 5 years?
I think there are competitors reaching for Twitch's crown as we speak, and Twitch will be its own worst enemy potentially. So I think they'll still be on top, but they'll lose market share.
Nice. Alicia?
I think Twitch's biggest downfall and mistake right now is the fact that they don't have a better music system for themselves, where they don't have like a licensing program out for their creators that's a stronger contender. I think the first platform that can achieve that will definitely be throttled forward. I think Twitch is still going to be the most dominant purely for how it is, but technically Twitch is not the most dominant streaming platform in the world. It's actually Douyin, right, from China, where it has 38 million more viewers per month than Twitch does. So it's like, but they do their complete site correctly versus what Twitch does. It's just that Twitch doesn't have the access to understanding what they do over in China. So it'd be interesting to see them integrate how well China does their platform. But then again, Twitch is being pretty archaic at the moment and not advancing the way they should. So
Nice. Okay. I think everything's going to be owned by Tencent anyway, so none of this makes a difference. You are stranded on a desert island. You know how this one starts. Somehow there's a full PC setup. Somehow there's lightning fast internet, and you can only download one game. What are you playing on this desert island for, for the rest of your life or whatnot? Let's start with you, Bill.
Let's go Path of Exile.
Good. I'm glad you didn't say Dota.
There we go.
All right, nice. What do you guys? Desert Island, what's your game?
do we have internet is the question.
Lightning fast internet, yes.
Okay, I would say VR chat.
VR chat?
Yep.
Okay,
just talking to
nice.
people in VR.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, cool. Anthony?
So I'm going to be playing Rocket League for the rest of my life because I love it so much.
Wow, that's bold. Wow. Okay, good for you. Let's.
I'm gonna jump into that one and say Jedi Knight series because I've been playing that one for so long, and the games just keep morphing, and I can't help but I think it's a great game. So, all of them.
It's a tough question, the desert island, but somehow it has a full PC and lightning fast internet question. A couple more. Who in the industry do you really aspire and look up to?
I can take this one. I believe in having no heroes. Thinking heroes and putting people on pedestals is not, I wouldn't say it leads to disappointment, but it leads to an unrealistic goal for yourself in the sense that why are you not your own goal? Because if you don't set yourself your own precedents, you don't set yourself your own standards, and you live by somebody else's, then you aren't being authentic to yourself or being true to yourself. So I believe in no heroes always. Don't put people on a pedestal.
Oh, come on. Name a name. Give us a name.
You, Ben. I'll be cheesy. There we go.
Okay. I respect that. Okay, Bill, what about you? Who are you looking up to?
Ice Frog, creator of Dota. There we go.
Solid. Okay, Anthony, what about you?
Shigeru Miyamoto, just because I love what he did with Nintendo and its characters, and it's really inclusive and fun. So that's sort of like my childhood. So it's definitely him.
Jeffrey, what do you think? Let's get you in the lightning round.
I was actually with Alicia saying, I was like, brilliant. I love what she's saying because there are so many people that you look up to. I can't pick any of them. I just like the people that really dominate the space by helping others kind of pick them up and move them forward. So I can't pick one, but I'm a fan of that space of how people do it. So.
Yeah, awesome. All right, let's end it off with a prediction. Okay, which team is going to be the first to win a world championship world title? Leafs, Jays, Toronto Ultra, Call of Duty League, or Toronto Defiant, Overwatch League? Anyone could jump in. Who's the first to take the crown?
Toronto Ultra for me.
Mathematically, that does make the most sense. It's only 12 teams. It's good pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the same.
Got a solid team. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Leafs because there's hope this year, but I don't know. Still try.
Yeah.
But probably the Ultra.
They were going to win this year. I thought it was predicted that they were going to win this year.
Oh, I know exactly. They planned the parade already, so let's go.
Yeah. If they do, I will not be an Islanders fan anymore.
Oh, no. All right. Let's do it.
Very excited for the most socially distanced parade we'll ever see.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
I have a feeling that may not happen, Ben. I'm
Yeah.
not sure people in Toronto are really into that non-having marches and stuff like that. So
No, not in May or June. They're not. Yeah.
no, agreed. Well, there's been a few other comments that have come up, and one of them was indie games. So, are there any indie games that you think are going to really take some grassroots pull and push forward? Anything you guys think of?
I think a really cool concept that just has been released into early access recently is Core. I don't know if you guys know about Core or not, from Epic Games, where it's basically a game in which you can create your own games and your own mini games using their own models. And I think that's something that's really brilliant of Epic to do, to be able to release their own models and their own products in there so that you're able to create your own. I think that's a good step for the future. As for like the most upcoming indie game, as I said before, anything that can allow collaboration will succeed.
Okay. Anybody else?
Valheim was pretty cool. It's been a couple months now, but it's been pretty popular. They're fairly independent, and yeah, I mean it's hard to predict the indie games. I mean sometimes it just strikes a chord with the right market and just does very well. And the publishers and developers really know their audience and they do well. So yeah.
And for me, the game that blew me away was Among Us. I don't know how big or small I was, but I ended up playing it with, level 6 on one of the nights, and it just blew me away. So games like that, I think, are going to really take off.
Ben, how about you? Any indie games that you think are going to really make a mark?
It's hard to say I don't play a ton of indie PC games. Definitely very impressed with the Fall Guys sort of coming out of nowhere. I wouldn't really even call it indie, especially not now after the acquisition. But I think games that just push the genres a little bit differently, like Battle Royale is cool, but what does it look like outside of a shooter game? And I think when people kind of break open some of the stereotypes of a genre, that's when we're seeing really exciting new games. Also, just in general, it's very expensive to create the IP. So I just feel like a lot of the games are recycling old IP and getting kind of lazy. But you guys had some great suggestions that when I have some time, I want to check them out.
And one last question that goes a little bit to yourself on the incubator side. How does someone get into that? And I don't know if the other businesses are incubating as well, because it kind of sounds like you all could be, especially in the forums that you've built. But what is a way for an esports company or potential company to get into one of these incubators, accelerators?
Yeah, I dropped the link in the chat there, so you can go on our website and take a look, learn a little bit more about it. We're going to be starting the third cohort. It's probably going to be in the spring, and we have some great advisors and mentors. We have Mike Armstrong, the Chief Marketing Officer for Overactive Media, who built the Toronto Ultra brand. So he'll come on, guys like Adam Kleiman, senior esports manager at Ubisoft, will talk about, how to build and work with game publishers. So we kind of take someone from every aspect of the industry. We've got a great professor, Carol Meissner from Georgian College, teaches esports. And also she's a parent, her son's a pro player. So we try to get all these different perspectives, and you can see everything on the website.
Awesome. That sounds like quite the mix. Pro player and teaching esports. That's pretty amazing. I love it. Anybody else? All right.
That's where I copy and paste Ben's link a second time and say, check it out. That's definitely the way to go, is to check out Ben's site for sure.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Well, now that we're going to kind of wrap our way through this wrap up, one last thing that you guys want to share, comment, I leave it to you for the last word. And we can start with you, Anthony. Anything you want to share to the community about becoming a gamer or building a business? Any final thoughts? But turn it over to you to share.
Sure. If anything, have a lot of passion for it. I mean, I'm working on my startup, and I'm happy that I got in touch with Ben. We're getting closer to building startups in general. So have a lot of passion and have a lot of fun.
Perfect. Bill, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, just get involved, put yourself out there. You never know what'll happen. That's my advice. And make sure you network, meet people.
Agreed. Makes a big difference. Alicia.
I guess the biggest thing would be is don't be afraid of shining and outshining anyone. I think one of the biggest struggles I had was, I guess, my ingrained sexism towards my own gender, to a degree, where it's so ingrained into you to be overly humble all the time, where I found myself being apologetic without reason. I found myself constantly trying to dial it back for others, which was the most insane concept in the world, because if I was literally any other skin tone or not this gender, I never would have done that for even a second. And now I might seem a little bit egotistical, but at the same time, live life unapologetically, right? You got to stand by what you do. And I think it's important that people should find pride in what they do. And I find pride in my accolades now, and I find pride in myself. So it's important to have those.
Well, I'm going to say that I think all of you have come a long way, and you've made a big push and a big stance. And I think that's probably why you're able to open up and be yourself. You found a passion and a love for where you are. And I think that that's what puts you guys on top. So kudos and congratulations to all of you for your successes, and keep pushing hard. And thank you very much again for joining us today. You guys are the rock stars of the NBA, or esports. But thank you very much for that, because you guys are brilliant.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, up next, we're going to have Chris, Josh, and Chewy. Ben, how you finding it so far? Are you guys making some good connections, chatting with lots of people?
Yeah, some great perspectives. Yeah, and also just it's great to sort of hear from people I haven't chatted with and haven't talked to in a while, and see what they're doing. So great things. Alicia's documentary, the documentary about Alicia is on Amazon Prime, Game Breakers. That's a great series. Features 6 different esports athletes, content creators, and whatnot. And episode 4 features Alicia. So it's great to see, and great conversations, and excited for this one.
Awesome. Maybe you can, if you have the link, I'd love to watch that documentary. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. Ben, maybe you could put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm going to drop it in chat.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Welcome, guys. Very excited to have everybody here today again for our last panel, which is how is esports evolving and engaging fans? So pretty exciting about this, because I know all of you guys are really tied in a lot into this space. So maybe we can start by having Chuboy give us a little bit of background on yourself, and then we can go around the horn that way. But just a little bit about your background and what you're up to.
Sure. My name is Chuboy. You can just call me Chu if you like. It's usually a lot easier than my full name. And of course, a lot of people have a lot of great nicknames for me, like Chewy. I get that every day, so it's no worries. But I'm an ex-EA employee at EA Sports in Vancouver. But now I'm a content creator for FIFA and also the one of the esports hosts, one of the broadcast team members for the FIFA Global Series esports events that happen across the world for the FIFA series.
Amazing. Christopher, you're up.
Hey, Jeffrey. So my name is Chris Olimpo. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Arcadia. We're currently building the world's first stadium-sized mixed reality arena for athletes to replace avatars in what we're calling super sports. Essentially, athletes run around in stadium-sized video games for live broadcast audiences. Prior to that, I was a creative director that produced some pretty cool virtual reality and augmented reality stuff. The most notable of which was I had the privilege to direct and produce Tom Cruise's first VR film, which documented him doing a stunt in a zero-gravity plane. It was pretty wild. And yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Josh.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Josh Marcus. I'm co-founder of MKM Esports, which is Canada's first law firm and management agency dedicated to esports and content creation. I'm also Chief Operating Officer of Rumble Gaming. We are a talent agency, represent about 500 or so influencers, esports professionals, teams, ancillary entities all throughout the space, based out here in Toronto. Thanks for having me.
I love it. So you guys all of you have a real in-depth background in the space. Maybe just for interest purposes, can you give us an idea of, how long you were as a player and then how long you've been in it from the business perspective? Because you guys do sit at it look in from a different level and where you're coming into this whole ecosystem. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, so just as a player, like playing video games? So yes. I guess, I don't know, since I was like, as soon as I can hold a video game, like in my hand, like I always played everything, always loved games, whether they be digital or physical card games and stuff like that. My family, a bunch of pranksters, half Italian. So played a lot of Tetris on the Game Boy. My older cousin used to show me that and was always obsessed with, a lot of the Nintendo products. Played Mario. The first video game I ever finished was Aladdin. I guess that's going to age me a little, but I remember being really proud. My godfather was like, holy shit, you beat like the magic carpet level, which was like a lava level. And I always had a fascination with classic video games. So I played a lot of the Game & Watch gallery stuff on Game Boy, played a lot of like Galaga, Pac-Man and stuff like that. And then became obsessed with like Mortal Kombat because, violence is like pretty cool when you're a kid. And like you start seeing that stuff and you get like to learn like how to do the finishers and stuff. I could go on and on about games, but when I started taking it seriously as a business, I think I watched the movie Indie Game, the movie. And when I found out that Phil Fish, one of the creators of Fez, was from Montreal, I'm from Montreal, Canada, kind of blew my mind. At the time I was working at Lockheed Martin in simulations for the Navy. And I was like, these developers, there's like this underground developer scene in Montreal. What the hell? And I was about 22 or something. And within like a month, I quit my job and just started throwing myself into that scene. Did the global esports, game jam. No, sorry, I forget what it is exactly. The global game jam, and I got confused with Global Esports Federation for a second. And at the global game jam in Montreal, won for best art direction. I had this idea for a game, and one of the guys that commented like, this game looks really cool, was the developer of Fez. And that was just like a cue for me, like, this is it, like, this is all I'm doing. And with time, worked at a rapid growth startup in the hospitality industry, then moved on to a virtual reality agency, but always had this thing in me, like, I really want to make the future of gaming, really want to work on innovation. And have the privilege now to build this company at Arcadia, which we just closed a round of funding a few weeks ago, and we're getting ready to show the world something pretty cool.
Awesome. Very cool. Chu, how about yourself?
Well, in terms of video game history, I'm probably the same age as Christopher, judging by the games. I did not beat Aladdin, even though that was one of my favorite games. That was really hard, like that lava level. Yeah. I don't remember actually beating it. Yeah, it was a brutal level. But I think I started like back, my first console was Sega Master System 2. I think like got it like in 1992 or something like that. So I was always a Sega kid for a while, got the Genesis. That's where things started to get like very serious in terms of gaming. Then move on to the N64, which was my favorite console of all, probably tied with the GameCube. So I went from Sega to Nintendo. And I always, like everybody here, like I always had been playing games since day one. My parents, I'm originally from Nigeria. African parents hate video games completely. So I would always get yelled at for playing video games instead of like studying or doing homework. But I always had a feeling it would pay off eventually. I actually went to university as an engineer, an industrial engineer, but kind of found that a bit too boring once I graduated. So one thing I always wanted to do is I was always obsessed with Nike soccer commercials. That was like one of my favorite things to watch, was like these Nike soccer commercials they used to have back in the day before every World Cup. So I always thought that was like marketing. I didn't know that was like advertising, but in my mind, I was like, all right, if I could leave engineering, I always want to do marketing. And then I figured either marketing for soccer or marketing for video games. Luckily, I ended up getting a job at EA Sports. So it kind of worked out that I got a job in video game marketing and soccer marketing at the same time. So it was just like the perfect mix. So I moved, I went to a university in the States, in upstate New York, Rochester Institute of Technology, went to UCLA for a year because I always knew that the gaming industry was predominantly on the West Coast. So I just needed an excuse to get on the West Coast. I used to, sneak into E3. Back when E3 used to only allow journalists, I would just make up some fake website or something, like make up fake business cards just to sneak in and out. I would always ask people, some of the marketing people there for, jobs, interviews. I remember like waiting outside of one of the Telltale Games booths, trying to get an interview with them for like 2 hours. It didn't work out, but it's it always just leads you to the point you're going to eventually. So got the job at EA Sports in like 2012, worked on the FIFA Ultimate Team series. My job was to kind of market that to the general public, figure out how to get that, because it was very small at the time, but now it's like $1 billion part of FIFA itself. Left in 2016 to pursue the content creation side of things. I was an influencer manager as well on the side while I was at EA. So I kind of saw that I would rather be an influencer instead and work on that side, just a bit more freedom. And after that, luckily the guy that replaced me when I left decided to hire me for the global series broadcast on the esports side of things. So I kind of fell into that. And then I just ended up loving FIFA esports. That kind of took me down to other esports as well and looking into those. But that's how I got here.
Amazing. Quite the journey. Very exciting. Josh, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I guess Sega Genesis was probably my first console that I really dove deep into. Sonic 2 was my game for years growing up. And then, same, PlayStation came out. I was really big into Tekken. I don't think I've really played Tekken since Tekken 2. I tried playing Alicia once, and that just went terribly. N64 from there, and really the Zelda games was my, growing up, I still love Zelda. My dog's name is Link. So that was, growing up, I was a Nintendo kid for the vast majority of my life. But in law school, actually, is where I really made that first jump. My business partner and I, we went to law school together, and we played far too much time playing Smash Bros. More time playing that than studying. And we came across this, it must be 12 hours, this documentary on YouTube. I think it's just called the Smash documentary. I've always referred to it as the Smash documentary, but it was all about the rise of the competitive scene and the rise of MLG, and, kind of introduced you to a few of the big names at the time. And this was a world that neither of us, we had heard that it existed, but neither of us really appreciated or delved into until then. And we went down this esports rabbit hole. So a couple of years went by. I was articling actually at an insurance defense firm, and then I worked there for a few years. Very different world. And I was speaking with Evan, my business partner, and I think it was Ninja had just signed whatever deal he had. And we said, look, if you're looking into the traditional sports world, these athletes, they're not negotiating their own deals. They're not signing, they're signing their own contracts, but they're not the ones putting them together. Surely this infrastructure must exist in esports as well. And we found it did to a certain degree. There were two firms, two law firms doing it down in the States. No one doing it in Canada. And, we had kind of fallen in love with this industry and found that opportunity to say, you know what, all right, let's go for it. So we both, we quit our jobs. We launched the law firm first, and shortly after the management agency. And it's really been all uphill from there. A lot of our clients are either small businesses, so they're teams, they are tournament organizers, they're kind of those ancillary entities who, like Ben said, sometimes they need that push in the right direction from the business standpoint, and we offer them that. But we also work with players, a lot of pro bono players. If you're something that we pro bono, meaning we'll help them out no charge, especially for contract reviews. Something that we found when we first started was, if you're a 16-year-old and somebody puts a contract in front of you to play Fortnite for a case of Red Bull, you're going to sign it. You're not going to think about, A, what value are you bringing to them, and are you actually getting that value in your contract? And B, is there anything that you're giving up here that really, you're just not thinking through, or at least not appreciating to the extent that you would with a second set of eyes. So that's how we got into the industry, helping out players, but also building up this practice of more corporate law in a really fun industry. And then from the agency side, getting to play a part in really creative activations all across the space. And it's I'm sure we'll get into this, but it's a tough world to come up with an activation that somebody's going to pay for, because sponsorship dollars are still pretty hard to come by. But more importantly, one that's authentic in the gaming space, because the community really, you can tell they sniff out inauthenticity. And when something goes wrong, or when that promotion just something smells off about it, the brand hears about it. So working with these teams, working with non-endemic brands who are looking to enter the space, it's just a ton of fun, and a great mix of the legal side with our love of gaming.
Awesome. You guys have a very all have great backgrounds and great stories on how you've kind of maneuvered through this space over time, but coming from the player into the business side and more into the larger business entity. And I think you provide a lot of room into how is esports really evolving? How is this whole industry changing? And Josh, you mentioned kind of that starting kickoff point, which is how are brands engaging in this massive industry? And maybe just to take a step back, one that kind of really popped out in my head when you were talking about that was AOC when she joined Twitch. And I think Justin Trudeau was on there and a few other people. And all of a sudden everybody was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're on here. So it's really evolving into this mass global community. Again, it's untapped, it's uncontrolled, it's just kind of doing its thing. But what are you finding as how esports has evolved, and why are all these people jumping into it? It's kind of like, I guess, the Bitcoin craze, but what is the driving force that people are getting into this? And maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, I think we've all, or a good chunk of us, have seen the statistics in that there are more people, and generally a younger generation, tuning in online, whether that's YouTube, whether it's Twitch, Facebook streaming, any of these platforms. We're the generation of cord cutters. We're the generation of ad blockers. It is very hard to reach those 16 to 25, 30-year-olds in your traditional media ways. So yeah, to your point, you have people like AOC and really the Biden campaign generally, they really jumped on board on the online media train, just trying to engage with this demographic in new ways. From the corporate standpoint, you're seeing really creative activations, particularly I think from the food industry are some of my favorites. Wendy's had a great one where they did this collaboration with Fortnite and basically had an avatar or a skin that was somewhat similar to Wendy, going across and destroying freezers, right? Hey, we hate frozen meat. I'm going to destroy every freezer I can find in Fortnite. Authentic ways that they're saying, hey, yeah, this is Wendy's, and yes, it's a paid promotion, but at the same time, it's still kind of fun, and I don't care because, yeah, okay, that's a creative way. I will go ahead and destroy freezers. so there's a lot of creativity involved with it, but more importantly, it's the only way to really reach some of these audiences. I have a little sister, she's 8 or 9, and I said, well, what do you want to watch? And she has her iPad in front of her. Princess stuff. What do you mean princess stuff? And sure enough, I go into YouTube, I type princess stuff, and there she is, clicking next video, related videos, going through. Some of it's probably sponsored by Mattel or Hasbro, and seeing other children playing with their toys, or some of it is digital shorts, right? It's literally princess stuff. And it's very easy to target that market of, okay, if you're trying to find those viewers who are watching princess stuff on YouTube, you can, using traditional search engine optimization and the right keywords, you can get your content out there. So it's shifting how we're reaching that audience in this digital age.
And is that because they're using this form because it hasn't been as monetized, but the reach is far? And maybe too, you can jump in on how EA and all of the other big brands are kind of jumping into this and where they're seeing the value in this community.
I mean, I think there's certain, in my opinion, it differs from platform to platform. I think like the longer the platform has been around, the better understanding of like what the value is and how much money they're putting into it. Like I would say, something like YouTube, since it's been around for a while, and that, that scene of influencers has been around for longer. Now people understand, how much value you get from a YouTube video. I think when you look at it now, if I was to start a campaign right now, if I was a company and let's say I didn't have a lot of budget, I would probably look at like TikTok. Like you get like an insane reach, but people really it hasn't really matured yet in terms of like the advertising space and companies understanding what exactly the value is and how much you're supposed to pay people. Even like TikTokers themselves, since they're like kind of this new breed, they're not even sure what to pay, what to ask for. In these kind of phases, you can get advertising for relatively very cheap because they might not ask for, unfortunately, they might not ask for a lot, and the company, they don't trust TikTok, they don't know it yet, so they're not going to put too much, right? But then in a few years, like I would say TikTok now is probably Instagram in like 2014, right? And then 2014 Instagram, like the influencers just started taking off from there, and you saw like huge influencers grow. And then now that's already, you already know what you're going to be paying for on Instagram and how that works. So I think it differs from platform to platform. And in terms of how companies are using it, like I like the in-game ways that companies use it. For me, the way I always see it, and this is just how it is in FIFA, it's like you have to just, I think the target, they always want to know what's in it for them. Like Josh was mentioning, like, okay, in Fortnite, you get something out of it. You get like an in-game token out of it. In FIFA, we entice people to watch the streams because they get a certain item in the game where if they watch 5 streams, then they get a FIFA pack. If they watch 5, if you watch 4, you get a smaller pack. So it's incentivizing people to watch more. So I think when you have to look at engagement as a company, if you want to, let's say work in-game, it's better to look at it as what does the viewer get out of it? Because, there's so much fight for attention that the human being is always into self-interest, right? So if the way to get around like fighting for attention is to give something that they would want, give something that helps them on their own journey in the game. So that's an in-game example, I would say, of how to make use of that.
And that the in-gaming it is quite popular. And from the from the advertiser standpoint, are they really going after and trying to focus more on the individual, like going in and getting Tufu and Ninja and saying, hey, you guys got such a crowd, can you just decorate your room with my McDonald's food and everything else and just push that out? Like, or even if it's like in your background, like you have your collectibles, like are these the types of things that build up that value for advertisers?
I mean, it depends. I would say when you look at the content creators, you do, if we were talking about authenticity before, I think one way to get instant authenticity is to go through a content creator, right? Because you can pitch them an idea that you have, but they know their audience is way better, of course, than anyone else, right? So they can help you figure out how to adjust that for that campaign. And they're more likely, the audiences are more likely to support it because it's that content creator. They just want to see the guy that they've been watching for years grow. Like, to them, they're just helping him grow, not necessarily helping the company. So they're more likely to back this advertising, this movement, whatever the companies are pitching. They're much more likely to back that if you go through a content creator, in my opinion. Something that I saw this past summer, I think it was really good, is I'm a big fan of this NBA YouTuber. He's called Flight. And Wendy's actually gave a bunch of different Twitch streamers, I believe. He was the only one that I knew personally, I think, except for maybe Myth. But, they gave them their own meal at Wendy's. So if you're a fan of his, then you had to go to Wendy's and order, or you order on Uber Eats, things like that. And it seemed like it was very successful for them because, actually got kids to, order for Wendy's. They're not ordering for Wendy's because it's like, I'm ordering for Wendy's. They're like, oh, this guy that I've been watching for so long has his own Wendy's meal. So if I'm going to be, everybody, kids these days, they just want to be part of a movement. And these content creators always are supplying the motive for the movement. Is if you're a fan of this guy, you're part of his movement. And if you're a brand, you can tap into that movement by enabling that content creator to have something special that only the fans of that guy can get. So they feel like way more involved in it if they see it through that content creator as a support mechanism.
No, I like that. And Chris, on your side, what are you seeing around the how it's evolved, but authentic, being authentic and getting kids to feel that they're part of this? And you mentioned collectibles. How do you see this really changing? Because it's going back to the Happy Meal days when you got to see a hockey player or something on it and you were super excited, or whatever other things that they did back in the day. What's changing now in the environment that you're seeing? Oh, you're on mute.
I have a lot of thoughts around this one. I'm just trying to summarize, my answer here, but I think authenticity is the key, and if you're curious to know what advertisers and big companies are looking for, they're just looking for sales. Like, they're looking to engage with people directly, right? Now, in the past, everyone had the same airtime. Everyone was watching TV. So you just you figured out where were the hits. You just put your ad right in the middle of that thing. Today, as people have the choice to look at whatever they want, they got to find new creative ways to engage with them. We're looking to break a lot of ground in this space, and to actually look not only where we are today, but where are things going. And I think at the root of all marketing, there's this concept. Most agencies, so I used to work in agencies before as a creative director. Often what companies look for is something that's new or something that's fun, right? Like, that's what Wendy's is doing. That's what Travis Scott is doing in Fortnite and Marvel and all this stuff. There's these fun, cool, new engagements. But the things that usually connect with audiences, no matter what their age is, whether they're young or old or whatever, is the advertising that speaks to the second person. And the second person theory is this concept that at every moment, everyone on the planet is two people. You are who you are right now, and you carry the image of who you want to be. And this person that you want to be could be healthier, wealthier, happier, whatever it is. But whenever you see an ad or a thing that speaks to that second person, that speaks to, hey, like, buy this razor, you're going to be better looking, or buy this book, you're going to figure out your money, or, do this thing, you'll be healthier, you're more likely to buy that thing. Now, with kids, identity is super important. When they start off, their first tribe is family. Then they go into high school, and now they want to fit in with the larger world, and they don't know what to identify with. Like, when I was younger, like, Tony Hawk's was super cool, and DMX was super cool, and like, that was a conflict in my mind. Like, what side am I on? And you get older, you realize you don't have to choose a side. That's fine. Today, influencers have huge power over the youth, and big companies with unhealthy products take advantage of that. And one of the things that we're looking to do with Arcadia, because I totally agree with Shu. Sorry, is it Shu or Chu? I just want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly.
Chu.
Chu, thank you. So, and also the Ronaldo card is super cool behind you. So when Chu was talking about, young fans wanting to support the people that they're admiring, like the influencer they're admiring, I think that they should be able to do that directly, and you see that on Twitch. You see that trend, people just giving these $1, $2 donations to have their name pop up on the feed. And one of the things that we're working on implementing at Arcadia is to create micro sponsorships. Today in the sports world, whether it be basketball or Formula One or whatever there might be, sponsorship is limited to the big companies, right? Whether it be like big energy drink or big tobacco or whoever. But it would be pretty cool if the audience can support any athlete they want, whether it be a grassroots athlete or a really big athlete. And one of the things we want to do that we're working on right now is taking that little Twitch movement of being able to do small donations, these micro donations, and turning them into micro sponsorships in Arcadia, so that when our athletes step onto the court on their jerseys, because they're partially virtual, there will be holograms of the names of all of the fans that supported these people. And it creates this authentic connection between the athlete and between the fans, so that we can, get to the root of like what people actually want and give the athlete more independence through giving them support from the audiences that like really love them and want to see them grow, and also give that athlete the power to select what sponsors, they want to push into the world, because this stuff has a huge impact on society, and that's sort of the ways that we look at advertising and its influence today.
So does that impact, Josh? Do you see it changing the way your guys are working in the space when they're gaming, and you guys are getting behind them, and from a legal standpoint, but also from I guess what's the term? You're there, I'm not sure you call it handler, but what's the term that you would be utilizing as your agent? So you're going to make
representative.
Sure these things are pretty impactful to how you get them to do their job and focus, while you're taking care of all of these other pieces, which are activations, all these interactions that are going to be taking place, micro sponsorships, micro investments, all these little things are going to be super important to really evolving esports and the players in it.
Absolutely. I mean, it first of all, every influencer or competitor is going to have their own brand, right? It's if you are streaming Call of Duty all day, a partnership with, a really, I don't know, somebody said Pampers earlier, that might not work well. However, if you are, just chatting and you are creating, mother and daughter type videos on YouTube, then yeah, Pampers makes sense. And the same goes for the smaller level partnerships that these guys and girls are entertaining. It was surprising to me, and it is still surprising to me, that certain influencers will be a little more selective with their opportunities, which I think in the long run is a good thing. But that is to say, the value that they're getting from these sponsorships really has to be on brand for these influencers. So I actually love the idea that Chris's company is going after, and really trying to engage with your audience and your viewers, because your brand is really, it's just an extension of your viewers who are watching you and supporting you. And there are very few ways, I mean, there's many ways for somebody to support their favorite creators, but very few ways that are actually tangible and helpful to the influencer themselves. Straight up PayPal donations are great. And that's really what helps these influencers, buy their new rigs and get a new ring light. And it's an expensive endeavor to be streaming. So especially at the smaller level, yeah, any innovation, any creativity that comes a long way is a great opportunity for these guys. And then as you get larger and larger and you have more freedom to say, well, I like this partnership, I don't like this partnership, that's where they start to be a little more, again, rightfully so, selective about, yeah, this going down this route makes sense. Partnering with this clothing brand, yeah, let's do that.
So it sounds like being more selective. And when you look at even the top viewers from TikTok, they maybe have 9, 10 million people that are following them, and they've built a channel out in such a short amount of time. Is there cross promoting that's going on? Are you seeing people that are really huge on the esports side, in the streaming side, say Ninja? Is he going in and structuring the business inside of each one of these social platforms to build up a bigger persona so that they can take on more of that EA Sports and now what Chris is doing as well? Is that something that they look at as being, hey, we're a real influencer and we need to tap into all areas? Or is it just strictly, this is the only place I can be successful in, and I'll let the rest of the world push me through this in the upcoming years, but it's not really my focus?
Yeah, to an extent, they're leveraging obviously multiple platforms. Something that's worth noting is the competitive side of esports is quite different from the content creation streaming side. If you are aiming to be the best of the best of the best, you are going to be spending most of your time practicing, competing, playing in tournaments. Streaming is something that you might do on the side. If you're part of a large organization, the org might even say, no, you can't stream, right? They don't want to give away their tactics and their tactics and strategies. On the streaming and content creation side, you're kind of taking the other approach. It's, as I think it was Anthony earlier said, yeah, they have to be on there 10 to 18 hours a day, just driving fans and trying to engage them and creating new content. And the content goes stale after a week. So now we got to come up with something new and fun and different. So yeah, I think to a certain extent, you have to leverage multiple platforms. But if you are very great on TikTok and you've built up this, few thousand or a few million followers on TikTok creating these 10-second clips, that might not necessarily translate well to live streaming for 10 hours straight on Twitch. There's a different creative mindset. In many cases it does, in some cases it doesn't. And it kind of goes back to they're finding their brand, harnessing what that brand is and where that audience is. And I mean, my advice to them is generally grow where you are right now and branch out from there. Because if you try to be marketing yourself on TikTok and on YouTube and Twitch, live streaming and pre-recorded, there's only so much time and resources that you have. And it kind of waters it all down, as opposed to build up your brand, get that following, get that audience engaged, and build from there.
Awesome. And I think you're right. It almost goes back to like marketing 101, and you're just sticking to the platform you're in. And two, how do you guys look at it from a big brand standpoint? How are you seeing it evolving? Was it before kind of a buckshot spray of big business advertising across these communities, and now it's getting a lot more focused? They're going after people that are going to carry more influence to engagements that are going to convert quicker. How have you seen that change occur in the last few years?
Well, luckily I was able to work on both sides of the fence, like being in the company side and then leaving to become a creator myself. I remember at the start, I remember it was just even a big deal at EA Sports to even like pay an outside person for a video. I remember like the first day that ever even like came up to pay a YouTuber for doing a video for this release that we had. Cause in our head, we're just like, all right, we're the company. We could just advertise this ourselves. Right. But then we thought, all right, maybe this is something new. This was like back in, it's like 2013, I think is when like we first did that, 2013 or 2014. And then I think from there in that phase, like companies were just kind of going for like, the biggest person back then. You still see a bit of that today. They just kind of go for the numbers. And then I want to say like around 2017, 2018, then you start to see things change a bit where people were like a bit more savvy about influencer marketing on the company side. And they were like, all right, well, it's actually more about conversions. Like we can pay a guy who's got 1 million followers, right? Let's say in my case, he is a soccer influencer, but this product that we have is more of a basketball thing. So you don't want to pay a guy who doesn't have necessarily like that kind of following in that niche that you're looking for versus just giving a guy with a lot of followers just a bunch of money. So I think what's pretty cool now is just the rise of the micro influencers. And like, I always tell people, a lot of my friends want to become an influencer too, or like a content creator. And they're always worried like, oh my God, like no company's ever going to want to work with you. I'm like, no, actually the opposite, because there's 5,000 people that you have following you. You always probably have the most engagement when you first start off actually as a content creator, because that the people who are following then really are following you for you because you're just starting out. So they're like you for you. So even if you have like 5,000 on like Instagram or something, I always tell my friends, I'm like, actually, you're probably a better selection for them because even though they're paying less than they would at somebody else, they're still getting a better bang for their buck. So a lot of companies look at that, looking at it like that now, where they're, I always tell my friends who have small businesses, don't go for the big of influencers, not even me. Like, go for the guys who are like under 10 and under, 10K and under, because I think you probably get more for what you paid for if you go with them. So I think that's what we're seeing right now. Even though the big deals are there, with the likes of the Jake Pauls, those kind of guys are, those guys cause crazy movements. Those are, tons of millions, things like that. But I think there's better value in the smaller guys even.
I love that. And I do agree. When you go on grassroots, they have a little more impact. They're speaking directly to their audience. And I think, Chris, that's kind of where you guys are kind of jumping into. And I know you're not going to give us all the insights now before you launch, but how are you feeling that that's shifting? And is that really the direction it's going and where you guys are going to start to play?
Well, I think Chu's exactly correct. Like, you're seeing the rise of the micro influencer right now. People investing in people who have 10K, 20K followers and stuff like that. And I think that it all connects back to authenticity and wanting to actually speak directly to people. When brands have a product that connects with an influencer, and that influencer has access to a specific audience that's in a certain region and follows them because they have the same culture and values and stuff like that, you have a click, you have a connection, right? And so for us, it is part of, no, I will not give up some of the secrets of what we're going to be doing this year. And I appreciate you just not even trying. So that's pretty cool of you to do that. But at the same time, yes, that is sort of how we're planning on doing some stuff. What I can say is that we are preparing an 8-city tour, and we're going to be looking to introduce the world to this new category in sports where, like, where eSports and traditional sports, I don't know what to call them, sports, like sort of collide together. And we're going to look for the world's first pro athletic gamers. And while we do that, we're going to go into key cities. We haven't selected the exact cities yet. So we're going to leave that actually to our audience to help us navigate, what cities should we go to across North America. But when we do that, we're going to want to engage with the local communities there, very diverse communities. And we're going to want to engage with the local companies and restaurants and stuff like that to give them a chance to be a part of this whole thing. And, I think it's good there's always a way to connect the little guys with the big guys in a way that's authentic. If you find some common value or some common, and by value, I don't only mean monetary value. I mean, just values, what do these people care about, So yes, it's definitely one of the ways that we're planning on going, connecting grassroots people with big time, influencers as well.
I love it. We'll probably shift a little bit right now. And I think there's been a lot of great things. I do have another big question, but I'm going to let Ben jump in and give us the rapid fire questions to change it up a little bit. And then I'll ask that last question, but over to you, Ben.
Yeah, really great discussion, guys. I actually think, someone brought up the Pampers in Call of Duty. That makes total sense. Those parents are in their late 20s, 30s, whatever. That's a great activation. And reminds me, I was pitching Subaru on a deal, and the guy got back to me. He said, listen, we'd love to be in gaming, but our average buyer is 45 and they enjoy reading and hikes and nature walks, whatever. And I'm like, and then I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but how old are those kids? Those kids are prime gamers. And I just think, a lot of brands are just really missing the boat. And some of them that we wouldn't think would be in esports, like Tampax, who got in, last week with a huge activation, are making those big pushes. So just wanted to add that. I thought it was very interesting. So let's just break it up a little bit, a little rapid fire. So kind of some quick hits, quick responses to some interesting news and fun things. So what do you guys think? And just feel free to jump in and we'll go around. Do you think cannabis will make its way into esports in the next 12 months? I mean, from a brand partnership and sponsorship perspective.
I love that question. I don't know if it's in the next 12 months. My short answer is it should, but I don't know if it will. But I think it would be great if it did.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Chu. You're seeing a lot of CBD companies in it right now, and I think whatever stigma that's there is less with CBD. I agree, it probably won't be in the next 12 months. Publishers and tournament organizers need to relax their rules a little bit more before that can happen, particularly in the kind of restricted areas of advertising and sponsorships at the higher levels. But yeah, I mean, look, the money's there, and certainly the target audience is there, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's I agree. It's not in the next 12 months, but I think you're just seeing things change now. And like you're seeing, of course, there is the money there. And of course, when all said and done, it's all about the money, right? Like if you just walk down Toronto now after the pandemic, like every new store is a dispensary. If you like walk down Queen Street, there's like 4 new dispensaries at every block. But right now, of course, there's still that stigma, especially like in the US. I know they're just about to make it legal pretty much for most states, but it's probably a couple years out. I mean, even like myself, like I know the benefits of CBD and how it's helped me as well. But even I cannot be affiliated with EA Sports and promote alcohol or cannabis at all, right? So even myself, I wouldn't be allowed to. So I think the stigma needs to change, and hopefully, I'm saying like maybe 2 years.
If I can just say a quick thing on that, sorry. Like cannabis products have actually helped me finally hit fitness goals. My whole life I've never been an athletic guy at all. I was always a little skinnier. I had problems with insomnia, so I could never sleep. If you go to the gym and you can't sleep, you can't recover, right? And when I started using CBD or just a bit of, THC before going to bed, I could finally sleep. So I'm finally gaining some traction on these things, and that's sort of what people need to talk about, as opposed to just a recreational use, and all the other stuff.
Yeah, because and back in Africa, especially Nigeria, and like Nigeria is super anti anything. Like we basically in Nigeria, if cannabis is looked as bad as heroin, like we don't know the difference, but we just all hate it. So it's not something I've even been like privy to for most of my life, not until like my mid-20s, to be honest with you. And even with content creation, like CBD has helped me a lot, just to like because streaming is stream for hours. Stream for hours can take its toll. Like it's like I tell people, it's like networking at a party 5 days a week for 5 hours, and your brain is just fried. So I was always getting a lot of fatigue, things like that. But kind of like Chris, like CBD has helped me just like calm down after a stream and like be able to just sleep and be energetic the next day. So hopefully it changes.
Yeah, great perspectives all around. Someone just mentioned in the chat, Budweiser. Yeah, Bud Light is a huge sponsor in esports. Even I might butcher the name, Elysian Brewery in Washington signed a big deal with Evil Geniuses. So even beer and alcohol is still pretty slow to roll out. Next question: you have $1,000 to invest. This is an esports conference. A lot of talk about startups and everything. You got $1,000 to invest. Public, private company. Where are you putting your cash now? In esports and gaming?
Oof, maybe mobile, like the Brazilian guys on mobile. They're absolutely insane.
Like a particular company? Is there like a company that has exposure to Brazilian mobile? Like, that's the angle I'm trying to go with. Stock tickers are always good to add as well.
I would say there's nothing in particular that I know. I just always, when I'm just kind of like looking around YouTube or Twitch, I just like see these Brazilian guys who are playing mobile games. They're just absolutely crushing it, and nobody talks about it, like how insanely huge they are. I would say that, and also maybe there's this. I forgot what the company name is, but they do these. They manage a lot of the licenses for NFTs and things like that. So could that be going to esports eventually? Hopefully. I would probably buy some of, invest in the tokens of that. I think it's like Ecomi or something, and there's some other couple ones, but maybe some NFT-based cryptocurrency tokens.
Okay, nice.
My perhaps boring conservative answer is you find a nice ETF. The whole industry we're on the right track. My company aside, which is actively raising, will be part of Pitchit later. It's very hard to find one company that I would say this is the winner. There are so many out there, both startups and already established organizations that are doing great things in the industry. I think we'll see consolidation one day, and one day very soon, especially among some of the key areas. But to say that, you know, these guys are really leading the pack in their field it's a tough one. But the industry as a whole is absolutely going north. So yeah, ETF, get nice, diversified.
Ticker is Hero in Canada, Nerd in the US, whole bunch of them.
A good one.
Yeah. Gamer is the Van Eck one. Okay. Yeah, Christopher, what do you think?
I really hate to give a selfish answer. All the money that I have, I'm putting it all towards Arcadia, to be honest. I rather look, towards promoting other people, but right now we're at the start of what we're building, and definitely ETFs and NFTs are quite interesting. What Mike Winkleman just did, Beeple, was pretty impressive. So if you want to, take a gamble on a short-term win, that makes a lot of sense. But right now we're just very focused on what we're building, and, any capital that I'd have, I would reinvest in my company and my team.
Okay, nice. Mobile esports. So not just mobile games, but mobile esports, hip or hype?
Hip.
Mobile
For sure.
esports, hip.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you think?
I think it's hip as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very low barrier to entry. You got, if you have a thumb, you're pretty good.
But I just wonder what the stage is going to look like if just everyone is like, is it going to be exciting? But definitely, I agree. I think
some lights and some smoke machines, you'll make it exciting.
I think it was. I was watching a couple years ago the Clash Royale events, and yeah, they had like giant thrones and like lava down the middle. They can make it work. It was pretty insane, to be honest.
That's true. Good point.
But you can pop it up on screen just like this, right? So you can have everything running like crazy. People will be jacked and excited for it.
Yeah, no doubt it's going to be exciting. ESL is rolling out their mobile esport circuit. One that's coming up, esports at the Olympics. Great idea or run like hell?
I have my concerns with it. From what I read, they're introducing it in actually a very smart way with only a few very limited games. I think Gran Turismo is one of them. There's a snowboarding one, one. But ultimately, you're going to need publishers to be involved with esports in the Olympics. And publishers are there to make money, probably rightfully so, but that has to be a bottom line there. And the Olympics, while it's great for marketing, does not necessarily have that. I don't see the IOC paying any sort of licensing rights to Activision to have, Overwatch in the Olympics. So I'm hesitant on that one.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have. It's just that kind of like what Josh is saying. Like, I don't trust the parties involved necessarily to steer in the right direction or make the most of it. So it'd be good to see the representation there, but at the same time, like, I'm not too sure where it would go and if the people, the stakeholders, are the right people to take it there.
I just wonder if it's even necessary. There's such a big audience around esports right now, and I think it's a money and an audience thing rather than it being a values and a culture thing. Like, the Olympics are supposed to be about celebrating athletics and connecting the world together, from the ancient Olympics to the modern Olympics today, and I think that I love esports. We're building an athletic video game where people can run around in these large scale games in like large stadiums. That isn't the anti-esports. It isn't the anti-sports. It's just a new category that I think should exist. And something like that, I think, would belong in something similar to the Olympics. Like, even at that would have to be like a conversation. But the Olympics have evolved into this like very big corporate machine. And there are athletes within it that really represent the values of what the Olympics are supposed to be. And I think that if the athletes, there's athletes are protesting against it. If the athletes aren't into it and the esports athletes aren't into it either, then it shouldn't happen. If they are, then it should happen, right? And I think one of the reasons why it's being pushed is because it could make a lot of money, but that's not the sole reason why you should do something. And if you do something for the right reasons, you'll create great revenue, you'll create great value because everyone's sort of aligned in this common goal. So I have mixed opinions about it, to be honest.
Yeah, great point. Intel announced that they were going to do Rocket League and Street Fighter leading up to the what is now 2021 Japan Olympics. And there was a prize pool, $500,000 in prize pool. And I hate that. If you're going to be at the Olympics, you play for a gold medal just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's where esports and the Olympics need to have a real sit down on their models. Okay, last question. We actually, funny, we kind of touched on this earlier, but what brand is currently not in esports in terms of sponsorships that should be in esports?
I like that question.
That is a good one.
I mean, there sort of are in. I personally would like to see more of. I mean, you see the jerseys and everything, but as a sports person, I would like to see Nike more into it. Like I know Nike kind of does their own thing. You see Adidas is in it a bit more, especially like with FIFA. But I would like to see someone like a Nike get into it a bit more, in my opinion, and focus on that.
Nike Japan started a little, right?
Yeah, Nike.
They're in China for League of Legends. Yeah.
Not enough though, but I agree with you.
Yeah, not enough.
Yeah.
A cool one. I don't know if you count this as a brand, but we're meeting with a few right now, and I love it. Tourism boards, actually, and working with local groups who are trying to promote, obviously, tourism to their area in the world, getting more involved. Having something like a Toronto Invitational, Dubai Invitational, and really working to promote the growth of esports, be that on the game development side, be that on the tech side, or even on an individual content creator side, and really working with either the governments or public to build up that industry in that particular area. I think that's a great opportunity for the right either tourism board or government entity to say, hey, Kitchener-Waterloo, we are home of esports because of all these great programs that we have, and just marketing the hell out of that.
That's cool. I often think about consumer products because the consumers are the ones, like when they see certain sponsors, they're going to go and buy that product and do that thing. And I'd love to see more products that help people become the better version of themselves be advertised there. There's one product that I find hilarious, but technically just an overpriced can of water, but it's Liquid Death. I don't know if you guys have seen any advertisements around them. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
And I sort of love the parody that they're doing. And then I found myself going to a Whole Foods, and like, hey, I'm going to buy a can of Liquid Death. And it's like, I'm not going to buy a can of Liquid Death because the price point is just so high. But I guess anything like that, like more just a healthier product. I know Cliff Bars or something, Tesla should be promoted on esports stuff. I don't know.
I think you just touched it right there perfectly. It's getting more into these brands that the world's changing to. So you mentioned Tesla, sure, because Elon's everywhere. It's all money, but getting into more of these sustainable brands, ones that are kind of really pushing a different way to look at something like impact, right? Patagonia, Exactly. Rothy's, like anything that's going to really change the way consumers focus. Like even when you go into the diversity world and getting into how you can help players at an earlier age better understand the environment, those are the types of brands that can help change that, right? If they're going to get in there and be part of it versus your power drinks and your beer and your smokes, like these are toxic type brands. They're not building inclusion. They're not building things that make you feel part of a community that, they're outlets. And I don't think you're looking for an outlet. You're looking for something that really builds the community and shows that this is somewhere where you can create an e-Olympics, like one of the people shared. So I think that going in that direction is going to improve any environment, but we always go to the big brands that are a little bit more toxic, like Budweiser and things like that.
Yeah.
But to your point,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, go, Chris. I was just going to say, I think also brands are a little scared because the community can turn on you in a dime. We saw last year with Neom. Neom is a big sort of futuristic city project going to be in Saudi Arabia, and they announced this like huge deal with the LEC to be a big sponsor, and then like overnight, immediately the whole community turned against Riot Games, and this whole partnership was canceled, and it was tremendously embarrassing for Neom, embarrassing for Saudi Arabia, etc. And so I think those types of stories are the ones that, when you talk about liquid death or other maybe like meme type of products or products that are outside of the norm, they may be hesitant because of this unknown reaction from the gaming world.
That's going to spawn a whole other conversation on the problems with cancel culture, and how like anyways, we'll need a whole other hour to talk about that. But people have to do things that they need to do, and anyways, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I actually had the privilege to work on the Neom project as well. This was about 4 years ago when they were planning on it. The intentions of that city are in the right place. What that evolves into, you never know, because a lot of people get involved and you don't know exactly what's going to happen or what they're going to do. But this is where I think there's an importance in being selective with the products you sponsor, the people you partner with, the things that you do, and taking the time to communicate with your audience and your fans as to why you're doing all the things that you're doing so that they can connect with it and not make these like superficial judgments and cancel things before they even have a chance to materialize and do the good that they're hoping to do for the world, And, I really like what Jeffrey was bringing up before in terms of, being selective and using more sustainable brands and stuff like that, because the truth is that when you have a place that people gather to watch the same thing, when the sponsorship in that place represents the values of those people, it drives better communities, stronger communities, and it drives more audience, which drives more value, more capital, more revenue, which makes everyone happier, right? And you see these trends in social media through the micro influencers, through all these people. People are looking to be healthier and happier and wealthier and like have their lives like connected, and they're looking at it in all the places that they can. And if you pay attention to that, it gives you a good signal as to what you should do, whether you're a small company or a massive one. And if you can, select sponsors and brands that help the world become a better place, as cheesy as that sounds, I think you can actually drive better value that way. The problem is that we have a bad habit as a society. We're used to taking money from big tobacco, big, energy drink and whatever. So it's just a system that's in place. And if we can make room for other stuff, then we can like shift it in another direction. It's just my opinion.
No, it's well said. And, just because you're right, we can spend an hour on this, which is actually a great subject. But we're going to jump into the pitch event. But you take brands like Allbirds and things like that, where they've just skyrocketed in value and opportunity. But how do they get them into esports? Well, they might not have anybody that plays games in the company. They may not have that understanding. And it's really that educational piece that has to go back to getting them in there so that they can be part of this culture. And that's going to change the culture too. So if you see a brand for all brand shoes up there while you're playing a game and you're playing Call of Duty and you're yelling at each other, that's a more peaceful brand than if I see the power drink that makes me go to the fridge to grab another Red Bull so that I'm going to get there and yell louder. You're not really playing, in the same ballpark. And I think branding plays a lot of change in that. Yeah. But again, I think you guys were awesome. Thank you very much for really diving into this. We touched on a lot of great facets to how this esports world is changing. And I think just from the onset of when we started to where we are 3 hours later, we really do have a real view of how esports is shifting. And this it was a fast growing industry in the last 3 to 5 years, but so much more in the last year. And you can see how much this is pivoting and changing and really building everybody into a community, which is really exciting. And just because we got to end it the same way, just quickly, 30 seconds on one thing that you guys think that you really want to see happen in this space. And I give you the last words, whoever wants to jump in. So Chu, one last thoughts on this. Thanks, man.
I mean, we did touch on it, and I might take it away from the other guys, but I definitely do want to see CBD get into esports in terms of branding. I think it's time that stigma ends.
I think professionalization of the industry. You'll start to see more lawyers, more financial advisors, more insurance products that are marketed towards teams and players. And, as more money gets into the space and people are getting these, huge prize pools and sponsorships and endorsements, you're going to have a lot more 16-year-olds with, hopefully $1 million checks that are looking to figure out how do I actually use this and not blow it all right now. So more professionals.
I love those two answers. I want to see the merging of traditional sports with esports. I want to see athletes and gamers come together on a level playing field for real, not just for like a fun event. I want them to compete seriously. And that's what we're looking to do at Arcadia.
I love it. Gentlemen, thank you very much for that. Super valuable. Have a fantastic day. And again, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having
me. You guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
All right, Angelo, Carrie, if you guys can throw your hands up, I'm going to bring you guys over. We're going to run the video for all of the startups that are pitching today. Again, fantastic panel. I really loved so many different ideas and thoughts around how this world of esports and online engagement is really changing. You can think of all the latest engagements that have come from McDonald's to EA, all these great exciting things are really happening in this space, and there's a real open opportunity here. Angelo, how are you, sir?
I'm awesome. And thank you for the acknowledgement at the beginning. Front end, wow. You're amazing, dude.
You're a rock star. We're a big fan. Big fan.
Well, as I mentioned in the chat, I'm a huge fan and lucky to have you as a good friend.
Likewise. And I'm going to, Carrie, if you're there, you can jump in and say hi while I set this all up.
Hi, everybody. Glad to see everyone here. Good event. Hi, Angelo.
Hi, Carrie. How are you? Great to see you again.
Doing good, doing good.
Awesome. All right. Well, why don't we do this just before this starts? We're going to run play, but maybe Carrie, give us 30 seconds on yourself, and then we'll do Angelo, and then we're going to play the video for all of the companies pitching today.
Sure. I'm Carrie Anaidi, as JP said. I work with the Made Noble, and we invest in startups. Basically, I would say I'm a generalist in business and enjoy looking and evaluating business.
You got cut off there, Carrie, but we'll go there just because you stalled. The last part stalled, but post generalist. All right, Angelo, fire away.
Hi, everyone. I'm angel investor, a member of York Angel Investors, Maple Leaf Angels, a partner at the Supporters Fund at OPN, a huge fan of the ecosystem, and my DNA is about helping companies, and that's what I live and breathe to do.
I love it. All right, so the way this is going to work, we're going to play the videos, and then at the end, I think what we'll do is maybe we'll just have a discussion, and Carrie and Angelo, you guys can throw some feedback around. I wouldn't say we're not going to go into each company because that would be a lot of notes, but maybe we can just do some generalized feedback and discussion, and any questions that anybody posts, we can answer those if that works for you guys.
Sure.
Great. I'm just going to transfer to a better Wi-Fi, so I don't have any more cutoffs.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Zach, and this is Quickscope. We're the dribble for video game developers and creators. So the problem in which the market faces today is that the game creation process is getting easier, but discovering new talent is not. This is because current communication is scattered on multitudes of different platforms, as well as current alternatives are insufficient and inadequate in the way that they do not allow these people to really visually represent their previous projects, which is such a priority in this industry. So our solution to these problems is to unite the video game creation industry on one centralized platform. Here's an example of our product here and how each profile is actually acts as individuals' new industry-specific portfolio in the way that we allow our users to really showcase their previous projects in an innovative way. The gaming industry is valued at a whopping $180 billion in size. And in terms of traction, we have released our beta version, which had 58 users on it. We retained almost 50% of them, as well as we are launching our alpha version tomorrow. 2 out of our 3 co-founders graduated from the Founder Institute program. And we have landed agreements from 3 different organizations to help us out, including the International Game Developer Association. So for competition, Quickscope is the best of both worlds in the sense that we blend game development yet sociable environment with a place for our users to find jobs and further their careers in the industry. For our business model, in the short run, we're going to be focused on obtaining daily active users by offering our platform for free. For our expected growth, we will then implement a variety of different premium models, which vary in both price and functionality based on the needs of our consumers. For our go-to-market, we're going to be evaluating industry-specific strategies such as partnerships, attending large events, promotion through influencers, as well as outreach on a variety of different chat platforms. And finally, our team brings the necessary skills and tools to the table to be able to get this job done. And our ask for today is to help us with our $100,000 funding round on MFN Safe Notes, and we'd like connections to any advisors in marketing and gaming. Thank you.
Did you know that you could make money playing video games and that the gaming market is worth well over $200 billion globally? Back then, I used to have to pay to play my video games. Now I simply play to get paid. So what does that mean? So esports is overdoing a $2 billion market. It's growing, it's huge. There's going to be some saturation. And basically what that means is when you have platforms like Twitch, it's crowded. You've got established streamers with big audiences. What that also means is you've got newcomers who have zero audience. So we're basically building Dreamplay. Dreamplay is a platform that is going to be a new opportunity to streamers. You're going to be able to do your Twitch streams, your YouTube gaming, and your new original streams to the platform. We also have party rooms, which allows you to see the faces of your friends. So it's kind of like having a house party playing video games, but it's all done virtually. We think that's going to be a really cool and hot feature. On top of that, we have original content. I'm Anthony. I'm the founder and CEO, and I used to work for companies like Microsoft, Mercury Filmworks, and IMAX. I had business development. We've got Brandon Morales, who is heads technology, and worked for companies such as Parmalat, Samsung, and Microsoft. We've got Johnny Ho, Chief Creative Officer, and he worked for Groupon and some of the earliest AR/VR projects in both Germany and Hong Kong. We are currently looking for $500,000 Canadian for 15% of our company, and we look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Hi, my name is Steve Doswell. I'm the CEO of SoundPace. So we provide a solution for esports entities to enable audiences with the ability to immediately respond to calls to action and make single touch purchases directly from the content that they're viewing. It makes the fan engagement or viewing experience completely immersive. And this interaction all happens in real time, and we do it through ultrasonic sound waves. As you see in the stadium here, the speakers around the stadium are sending out an ultrasonic signal that the phones can pick up with their technology, any app or wallet with their technology inside, serves a payment card, including shipping and taxes. And now what you have in the excitement of the moment is potentially 50, 60,000 people simultaneously purchasing that jersey with a single touch. Roots Canada used the technology at a live fashion show. And actually, let's let the Chief Marketing Officer introduce us here.
Here on social media, you'll be able to actually shop for the palm of your hand the product that is actually on stage.
So you see, as the models walk by from the sound system, the audience picks up all the items of clothing they're wearing, the shirt, the jeans, the sweater, and now they can pick the items of interest, go through size and color, and buy the products directly from the sound system while the model's in front of them. It's a great user experience. If you look at this young lady on the right, you'll see that she's having a lot of fun with it. So it's not just for live events, it also works well on TV, open air stadiums, out of home signs. And it's all about getting a purchase cart to the user or the viewer at that moment when they're most amenable to making a purchase, what they call the power of the moment. And then tracking who they are, where they are, what event they are, what content they're looking at, et cetera. So I'm the CEO, I've done 3 startups in Canada, all successfully acquired. Doug Sutherland, our CTO, has done 2 of the larger our most downloaded apps in Canada, Time Play and the CIBC Tim Hortons Double Double card. You'll see we have existing brand name customers. We have 3 international patents for technology, and we have a number of big brands that we'll be working with in the near future. And I'd like to thank everybody for your time and attention here.
Hi, welcome to Luckbox, a premium esports betting platform around the world, trading on the TSXV with the handle Luck and on the OTCQB with the handle Luke F. We're a fully licensed esports betting platform, esports being professional computer game tournaments, and betting on them being in exactly the same legislation infrastructure as with traditional sports betting. In 2019, esports was worth about 1.4 billion Canadian dollars, whereas esports betting was already $1.25 billion, making it the single largest revenue stream in esports and growing at 44% year on year. We have a premium global license, which allows us to accept customers. We're live in over 80 countries around the world, and we have a veteran team being expertise with esports and the gambling space with over 100 years of directly applicable experience from companies such as PokerStars, 888, Disney, Zynga, and Electronic Arts. We have an award-winning platform. My favorite stat is that 18 to 25-year-olds watch more computer games than they do traditional sports. Esports will be the largest sport in the future. For example, in 2019, the League of Legends World Championships, one of the largest tournaments, had more viewers than the Super Bowl. We're already award-winning. The Oscars of the gambling industry nominated us the Rising Star, so the #1 growth company to watch in the entire of the gambling space. Earlier this year, in addition to betting on esports, we also added traditional sports betting, so you can bet on over 105 sports around the world in real time. Our growth strategy is simple. We're not raising at the moment. First and foremost is we're looking to scale our organic business through investing through marketing. And secondly, we're looking to put together a deal flow roadmap, so some M&As in the space, particularly to leverage esports odds companies. Thanks very much for listening. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Hi, I'm Ben Pfefferman. I am the CEO of Amuka Esports, and we are building the largest esports and gaming community right here in Canada. Esports is playing video games at a competitive level. It could be playing for $10 in a beer league or competing for $40 million in front of 100,000 people. The problem we're trying to solve is gamers didn't really have dedicated communities to either come and play in person, online, be part of leagues, and we really wanted to create a whole esports ecosystem where whatever type of gamer you are, you're gonna find something in Amuka Esports. Our business model is really predicated on esports venues, which we own and operate 2 esports venues in Toronto and Windsor. We produce hundreds of online events and tournaments per year, which are really growing and thriving. We have a dedicated media division that's producing esports content that television networks and OTT platforms are now licensing. And we have a competitive team right here, Parabellum Esports, which has pro rosters as well as academy level teams that compete in all sorts of different games. We are on a mission to bring esports and gaming into the mainstream. One of the biggest successes we've had so far is we've been able to get brands to activate, and sponsorship revenue accounts for anywhere from 60 to 70% of the revenue. So when you're looking at an esports company, you have to see, can they get that buy-in from sponsors? And the answer with Amuka Esports is yes. We've signed massive deals with endemic sponsors like Corsair, Seagate, Zowie, and BenQ, and non-endemic brands to come on board like Guru, Organic Energy, a couple others that have come on board, and that really validates what we're building is some of the best esports assets in Canada. We are raising $600,000. Pre-money valuation is around $5.2 million, and we hope that you're going to come on board, join Amuka Esports, and be part of this quest to be the biggest and greatest esports company in Canada.
Hello, my name is Catherine DeShields Moon, co-founder of Divertica. It's no secret that gaming and esports are big. The global gaming market will generate $159 billion this year and is projected to surpass $200 billion in 2023. Esports will reach $1.1 billion. But with more money, there are definitely more problems on the diversity and inclusion front. A June 2020 study reported 74% of those working in game dev are male and 68% identify as white or Caucasian. Currently, less than 2% of game developers are African American and 7% identify as Latinx, despite the fact that in 10 years, 57% of gamers will be people of color. This is where Divertigo will make a difference. Our platform celebrates minority success and encourages meaningful connections among industry professionals to foster diversity and inclusion in the gaming and esports space. We champion the fantastic work people of color and gender minorities are doing to advance the industry, while providing those who don't identify as a gender minority or a person of color an avenue to understand what they can do to help. We do this to advance thought leadership, jumpstart awesome partnerships that occur when great people meet great people, and provide the next generation with role models who look like them. Our membership portal elevates the best and brightest in minority talent and makes it easier than ever to find partners, employees, investors, jobs, services, and mentors. I'm fortunate to have two co-founders, a producer who worked with DreamHack and is deeply embedded in the Atlanta esports scene, and a business leader with 15 years of experience in capital markets running large-scale tech. I've worked in the gaming industry for 7 years, spanning games journalism, community management, esports partnerships and PR, and now virtual reality. Divertigo is pre-revenue and gearing up for launch, but here's how you can help. If you are a minority professional working in the industry, or you're an ally who wants to champion diversity along with us, please contact me. Together, we can take the gaming and esports industry to new heights.
As traditional sports struggle with stalling viewership, a new kind of sport has emerged with huge appeal for millions around the world.
Esports is probably the #1 growing competitive scene out right now.
That's 20 million people who are watching the damn thing.
Being part of something that you're incredibly passionate about.
Are you serious right now?
Which was an episode. This is the way it's gotta be.
I mean, you might question it now. We're all going to be watching it in one way or another. It's huge, basically unstoppable.
Hi, I'm Trevor Dirksen, CEO of ePlay Digital. ePlay has 11 different mobile games and app stores with a marketing program that launched just this month. 3 of those games are from our ES or eSports lineup. They earn eSports revenues, feature Howie Mandel, and they are just the beginning. ePlay brings esports and sports to mobile and monetizes. We announced a deal with the now NASDAQ-listed Versus Systems last August. That technology is now ready and part of an upcoming marketing push. Other similar marketing deals have worked their way through technical trials and will be announced as those trials are completed. And even more are coming through partners, through podcasts, upcoming Olympics, and the marketing advantages the company enjoys. For revenue, ePlay is initially focused in the $380 billion mobile advertising, mobile game, and augmented reality verticals. Those are the ones in the middle of that chart. And expanding to the fast-growing sports gaming and esports verticals, the shorter but growing bars on the left. For sake of time, I'm not going to go into our flagship games, How We Go Viral, with Howie Mandel, Beach Up Basketball, with Robert Ory. I'm only going to focus on our ES games. The ES line are mini games and allow people to compete head-to-head for prizes, including cash prizes. We have a ladder-style mini game called Swish, a match 3 viral droplets to please Howie game, and an AR augmented reality basketball title. With our ES games, users choose to compete for a $10 prize. For example, the entry fee is $6 per person, only one wins, and the house takes $2. Howie gets press, we drive down consumer acquisition costs, drive up average revenue per daily active user. It's a simple formula. In addition to those titles being marketed soon, we have Clocked, our fitness title and virtual world, our nifty esports NFT platform, and FanFreak that round out the ePlay ES line. FanFreak has users build a streak, keep it alive to win, and it's simple. Like Clocked, you're going to use it every day. So download our games, invest in EPY, or drop us a line to learn more about the next big thing in esports. FanFreak, Nifty Esports, and Clocked.
Hey everyone, my name is Justin, and I love 2 things, esports and fantasy football. Every year, over 45 million people play fantasy football, which is a way for fans to create the best roster of professional players to win prizes and rewards. With esports being the second most watched sport in the US, it was surprising to find that all fantasy esports options were not at all catered to esports fans. For one, all fantasy sports sites expect users to have high disposable income, as the cost to enter a single contest can vary from $5 to $10 to even upwards of $1,000, which most esports fans can't afford. Our competitors are also considered online gambling, which is prohibited or highly regulated worldwide. And finally, current sites are designed for users who are only interested in winning cash prizes. XP Fantasy is an affordable fantasy esports site for fans worldwide who don't want to gamble but still want to win prizes. We are the first to implement a freemium subscription model, as we just charge $8 a month for fans to compete and win prizes at a reduced cost. This also dissociates us from online gambling, which allows us to be accessible to esports fans worldwide. We also found that esports fans are enticed by winning more than just cash, so we offer esports-specific prizes like live coaching sessions from pros. We found that 12% of football enthusiasts play fantasy football, so assuming a similar ratio for the 200 million esports enthusiasts out there, our total addressable market is approximately 24 million users at $8 a month, resulting in a $2.3 billion industry. We just launched in March and have nearly 300 users on the platform with over 2,000 fantasy lineups drafted so far. We have also partnered with a few esports influencers, including former League of Legends pro Mike Young. Here's our team. I'm responsible for handling all business operations. Arjun develops and implements all of the platform's features, and Aparna provides legal and strategic guidance. XP Fantasy provides fans with an accessible way to enhance their esports experience who don't want to gamble but still want to win prizes. Thank you.
Your mouse, your way. At Apex Esports, we want to create the world's most personalized and customizable gaming mouse ever made. Rather than just letting you customize the look of your mouse like some of our competitors, we let you customize the feel as well by giving the choice between concave or convex buttons that best suit your hand and grip styles, because one size definitely does not fit all. Now let me ask you a question. Why is Scuf the most popular pro gaming controller company? Because everyone is different and you can build it in the way that suits you best, enabling you to play better than ever before. That's why Corsair, one of the biggest PC gaming companies, acquired Scuf in December of 2019. With the help of my social media marketing skills, my videographer Sean, and copywriter Georgia, I've gathered and surveyed my email list of over 1,000 people, built an e-commerce website from scratch, sold over $3,000 of gaming gear online, and launched our first Kickstarter campaign. We have a private label partnership with one of the most reputable gaming mouse manufacturers in the space, and they are capable of making the product. I have personally figured out the distribution and fulfillment needed to scale. I'm looking for $120,000 for 10% of my company to design, build a mold, and market and manufacture my gaming mouse. I believe the company will be worth $4 million in 5 years based on similar market value and the growth of the esports industry. Now's the time to join because the gaming and esports industry is getting more competitive every single day. My name is Tristan Young, and I'd like to thank you for your time, and I hope to talk with you all soon.
Entertainment has evolved over the years, from watching it on TV, with the gang at the bar, to mobile devices in defined perspective. But what if you could watch it from here? Or here? Or here, from the comfort of your home, and not just alone, but with friends while interacting in 360 virtual reality. VR being the most talked about and the least implemented tech of the last decade. Welcome to the Vertex, the world's first broadcast enabling platform in virtual reality with social interaction. Our key differentiators are in being real, not animated. We don't own any content, group experiences, VR devices in subscription, and unique licensing payout to partners. Some key analytics to define our market on a global scale. In the United States, in December 2020, we conducted a teaser campaign on YouTube, which had over 17,000 views, 370 website hits, and 58 signups for beta testing over 5 days. The numbers didn't look that impressive, but then these guys took interest on the B2C end of our platform. And on the B2B end, our main revenue streams are three-pronged, and over the next 3 years by 2024, we intend to have about 1 million users with over 40% retention as active, with an average lifespan of 6 months. It's time to watch it, live it together.
Hi, this is Abhishek Kanjilal, founder of The Vertex.
You've been listening to me on the video, and this is our pitch for $2.5 million investment on convertible notes. Hope we have been able to excite you as much excited we are about the Vertex. For any questions, please feel free to reach me. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Wilkinson, founder of We the Bookie. We the Bookie will launch a B2C online sportsbook, which will disrupt the industry by bringing to market two key features, which will appeal to all sports bettors, but should be particularly attractive to those who bet on esports. The first feature is that We the Bookie will pool the gross betting revenues and distribute 50% back to the customers at the end of each month. The betting odds associated with esports have a higher loss per bet margin than most established sports. So our esports customers should benefit relatively more from the WeShare model. The second feature, called Bookie's View, allows customers to click into any event to see how each outcome will affect the WeShare pool. Esports enthusiasts can see which players are attracting the most action, which will offer them additional interest in esports events without having to place an actual bet on the event. We the Bookies model is non-greedy but financially viable and will foster a strong community of customers. These traits resonate most with the millennial generation, so I would expect there to be plenty of overlap between the esports community and We the Bookies customer base. For more information, please visit wethebookie.com or contact me directly at info@wethebookie.com. Thank you.
Well, those are some really well done pitches. I was amazed at in 2 minutes how much information you can get across and how exciting it looks when you get it in HD and using those great graphics. So well done, everybody, for your pitches. So I think what we're going to do next is, and Ben, you're welcome to join into this as well. I'd love to get just some thoughts around, I guess, initially, and anybody in the audience, feel free to share any questions, but I'd love to get some thoughts just around your initial take, Carrie, around all of the companies that have pitched, and we'll kind of go around the board if there was any that stood out and comments or anything you want to share about them.
Sure. I mean, I guess I can go first. Being as my son would call me, a newbie in the gaming world. I understand a lot of the stuff just by living through my younger son, but I think there's so much potential in this type of an industry that is pushing towards, you know, esports and bringing community online and trying to I wouldn't say it's important to replicate what has been successful in normal, you know, like traditional sports, but instead finding a new way. How, you know, what makes sense in this new world of sports where you can have a team that is international, truly, and, you know, competing digitally. You know, it's quite amazing. It's this, you know, all the stuff that we've seen in movies for years are now our reality. So it's exciting. I found a few of the products really, really interesting because they're answering a solution to somebody who's using it, like the mouse that is, you know, totally personalizable. And I mean, obviously all these things you can't go by 2 minutes, but understanding more about that kind of stuff. And the sound pay sounds great, but how many more people are doing this right now, just because there is so much of a explosion in innovation right now, you know, so understanding where all that is in the market. But very interesting pitches. I enjoyed all of them.
Perfect. Ben, how about yourself? Anything stand out, and any comments or thoughts around it?
Yeah, really strong group. A lot of companies that I had seen, a lot that I haven't seen, so it was a really nice mix. I like Rumble a lot as a talent agency. I think it's kind of like higher margin revenue. We're seeing kind of like Game Square, which went public. They have an esports agency as their sort of cornerstone, and it's a very valuable asset just as you build out a portfolio of other verticals. So definitely a fan of that. I also really like Luckbox. That's a premium gaming betting platform for sure. They're already, you know, pretty big publicly traded company. There's for sure a challenge with esports with, you know, match fixing and things like that. So the integrity of these platforms is scrutinized, but I think, enforcement will prevail and people will feel comfortable betting. So that's another great vertical. And I think Luckbox has got a good early lead there.
Perfect. And Angelo, I know that we've been part of, and you've been earlier part of Enthusiast Gaming, which really kind of stands out in this space as being, I think, the 300 million uniques a month in the whole gaming space and touch points and being the largest gaming platform. So outside of obviously that, how are you seeing these companies and what are your thoughts around it?
Just one note, Ben and I were sort of hand in hand on the EGLX in those early days. So great to see a good friend and colleague. So I do like Amuka. Ben knows I'm a big fan, have been there. And then this damn COVID thing came up, right? So I've been meaning to follow up several times, and hopefully we can do that shortly. So I really liked the pitches that occurred. And although with my background you can't see, but I am sitting in a gaming chair. So one of the things that really stuck out for me is the whole concept of how do you make the esports environment more inclusive, increase the diversity, and I definitely want to be an ally, as Catherine has asked for. So that one really stands out. Also, the recruitment of video game creators, a platform to do that. Yes, people can build their reputation, but as you're embarking in that space, how do you get the best one, right? So I see some real opportunities there. I do like the fantasy sports and the merging of esports with traditional sports, and looking at that sort of betting environment as Ben talked about. The only concern that I have is how do you get to that adoption cycle where you're not sort of prevented to actually execute based on gaming laws, if any. And it's good to see that things are easing up in that space. And I see that as a next wave in terms of where people can be really engaged, both from the community side, the players, but also the viewers and the spectators. So definitely, I really like them. It was rapid fire. I'd actually like to sit down and learn more from a vast majority of them, and some I've seen. Just a shout out to to Apex. Your mouse, your way. I like the tagline. Okay, and as an old geezer, that's always been a challenge for me, even though I'm double jointed. But so I like that concept. And many years ago, I was with mentoring a company when I was at NRC, and they had this amazing technology that initially I said, dudes, you're competing with a marketplace where I can buy your product at the dollar store for $2 and you're trying to sell your product for $500. You're never going to succeed. Well, fast forward, they got acquired by Logitech, and that brand is Harmony Remote. And 20 years later, they're still around, and it's transformed a mouse manufacturer. So hang in there. I think that there is an opportunity where you can create a novel mouse, just like the Harmony people did in Mississauga.
Love it. And well, I'll just ask a couple of more questions just around this. And I think what I love about this is that it's such a early group of people coming into a really large space that's just been dominated by big players. And I think the movement, of course, is people starting. Oh, so much talking today, apparently.
Yeah. I think JP may need a little bit of cannabis right now. I think just.
Yeah, we got to cut to commercial or something.
Maybe a bit far.
If he doesn't come back in 5 minutes, someone call 911 for him.
Yeah. He's on the corner.
Boy, that was crazy. I don't know. My voice just went. I've middle of talking, and the whole thing went. Yeah, it was gagging. I'm good. I didn't even have anything to eat, so I don't know what the hell. It just dried up real quick.
Are you crying, JP? Or
I was so excited for the moment, but to be able to share. But from the perspective of the big players that are really in this community, you're seeing that there's a lot of room for early stage growth and opportunities to dive into this space. And Ben, from your accelerating side and being able to work in this space, are you seeing, and I can speak from an Angel side, we're seeing, I would say, a good portion of the deal flow. A lot of these companies we've seen starting to grow and move with them. Are you starting to see that there is a lot of opportunity that's coming out in this direct space, and that you're getting a lot of companies reaching out to you to figure out how to build a company and get into it faster?
Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot of esports and gaming companies consistently coming out in all the different verticals. I think what's really interesting is that there isn't really a long shelf life for the companies. Either they fade very quickly. I think Silicon Valley, like the fast fail model, or they're acquired. We see a ton of M&A. Even this morning, the gaming stadium acquired Even Matchup Gaming, which is Toronto-based tournament organizer in Smash. So with it, I think there's not like these companies will be around for 5 years and we'll see what happens. They're either going to fold or get acquired because of the massive amounts of M&A that's going on in the industry.
Totally agree with that. I think there's a huge roll up, and I think that was mentioned previous as well, that it's something that's just inevitable. You've got to have some of these big players eat up the small players to kind of keep the progress growing, but being able to take that usership inside of their business and really start to drive faster. And if anybody's going to compete against Twitch and these other big streaming platforms, they really got to start eating up the market so that they can compete faster and quicker. Angelo, on your side, and Carrie, what are some of the things that you can share that you really look for in these? I know this was just a small micro version of a pitch, which is 2 minutes, but are there certain things that you guys really like to touch on that you like to see, even if it's a 2-minute pitch, just something that stands out that really will help investors pick up on them real quick and want to reach out and follow their journey and or invest?
Yeah, what I'd like to see, Carrie, if you don't, sorry about that. What I like to see is what sort of traction does a company have? And in my perspective, traction can be two things, right? Either the number of eyeballs that's been attracted to their solution, and or how much revenues are possible. So if I look at the early days of enthusiast gaming, it wasn't the revenue base that attracted me to invest in them. It was more of I believed in the founder. He had a great vision and a great strategy to grow, and growing through building a community and then creating revenues through ads and so on. So to me, what I like to see is how attractive have the solutions been to their target marketplace, and regardless of whether it's paying at this particular point, that holds a lot of water in my perspective. So Gary, sorry about that.
No. I would mirror Angelo as many times I do on these pitch it calls, but traction for sure is super important. Knowing where they are. Are they just in an idea stage? Have they created something and they're selling something now? Where are they in their business? But then also, especially in a 2-minute pitch, a succinct one-liner that tells me what you're doing. Because when you're listening to something for the first time, it is very difficult to truly understand what your business model is with, just words, and also even just with the one screen. So a one-liner saying, there was one that said, uniting the gaming industry on one platform. And so that helps to begin, but then also add a little bit of the business model in there, like what part of the gaming industry. That's huge, so understanding more specifically what you do. And then the problem is also really important to me, knowing what you're solving, because if you're not solving a problem that's in the market, then you're just doing something for yourself. It's a hobby. So making sure that you have done somewhat of the research, whether it's your own community and your own gaming group or whatever that knows that this is a problem, or you've done customer interviews, or you've, how do you know this is a problem? Those things I think are important. Traction, what you're doing, and what you're fixing.
So that's some good advice that, make sure, and just to kind of wrap that around, is that have a problem, state the problem. If you've got 2 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, always go for the problem. Have a quick idea on the solution, and then show some facts, some revenue, some numbers, targets, where you're going, what you've accomplished, just to show that there's some traction, that you're a live business. And I guess round that up with some sort of little visual that is going to get people really understanding the direction of where you're going. Is it really impactful in the metric side to share in that 2-minute pitch maybe a client name, or does that really validate you guys too as well when you're looking at a company, especially in a short format and early stage?
I think it depends on, sometimes a name would be important, other times it's only if it's a strategic reason, and understanding that strategic reason is important. So that's my
Is there anything you would avoid putting into a pitch that you see a lot of? I'll give you a reference. A lot of the time, and today you'll see a little bit of it, where you're going into the environment and you're giving statistics on the size of the gaming industry. You're doing these things that in a short format might be, you're trying to educate the space when you're pitching for money. So it might be more valuable to show where you're at and what you've accomplished in this space versus giving out information about the area that you're going into when you're limited on time and you're really trying to win the eyes and ears of that investor.
I'm really big in understanding your customer, big time. So I do like the feedback, because you can just razzle dazzle everyone with all of these numbers and stats, right? But they are numbers and stats. What really holds a lot of water, sorry, I used that phrase again. What really resonates with me is the fact that, do you understand your user base, your customer base, and what has been their feedback, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean Johnny or Sally really like it. It's more of, why did Johnny or Sally really like it? What really stood out for them to really embrace your solution? That holds a lot more water than or a lot more relevance to me than indicating it's a $6 billion marketplace. It doesn't tell me really how engaged you are in that marketplace.
Yeah, and maybe just to add to that, yeah, it's like, if you can't figure out how they're going to make money, it's already a complicated industry, and if it's not stated, then it may not exist, So and that is it's one of you brought it up, like this fine line between, is this a hobby or a business? And I think with a lot of esports companies, I do ask that question because gamers are just so passionate, and they'll do it for a long time, even if it doesn't really make have a strong business case. So I think that's really important to identify early on.
100%. I agree with
Love
that.
it. All right. Well, just due to time, I'm gonna throw this back at you guys again. Any last words to the audience on, you know, we'll post, you can post them at your LinkedIn's, you guys can post emails, all that good stuff in the chat, but any final words you want to share to the community just about ways to engage or things that they should look for, anything like that. But I leave it, turn it over to you. Maybe Carrie, you want to start and go from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think just any business, whether it's in esports or not, make sure you have your business model all set. You know where you're going to make the money, because yes, we may not be greedy and super interested in money, but money sustains the business. And if you're not going to do that, then it, like Ben was saying, again, it's a hobby. So I'm glad to hear everything happening. If there's anything I can do to help, please reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, Carrie and Heidi.
Love it. Well, you can post it in the chat. Angelo, fire away.
Not to be repetitive, it's really about understand your marketplace and how you are going to execute on capturing as much of your marketplace as possible. Go beyond that sort of shiny light that you're chasing, but quantify the gold that sits behind that shiny light, and how are you going to corral it. So I'm a big believer in having a vision on how you can transform yourself at that very early stage to a real presence in the marketplace, just like Enthusiast Gaming and all of the wonderful work that they've done in the past few years.
I love it. Ben?
Yeah, I'll just say, if you're an investor or just, you know, someone who wants to learn more, the best way is to do it. You got to play the games, you got to watch the games. You're really never going to understand it unless you tune in and make that effort. So really encourage everyone to do that. And, for entrepreneurs, absolutely, you got to get involved. It's great. There's a lot of opportunities. The skills you learn with some of these low barrier to entry verticals, like organizing a team and tournament, are so valuable. Anyone can get together and have 20 guys and girls play Among Us or any games and get tournament and get experience. That's out there. So people just have to take advantage. Lastly is just, thought leadership and authority, like get out there, stream, create content, talk about the industry. And that's really the best way to get started and get known.
I love it. Well, I appreciate all the time you guys have put in today. Thank you very much for that. We're excited to be able to blast all this out. And, it was a great day. This will be our first and longest panel running, so we're excited. Huge fan of the space, so it couldn't have happened for a better group. So again, thank you guys for all of your feedback. And in saying that, I'm going to wrap this up, I guess. So we've come to the end of our time. We had 3 great panels. I do want to thank all of you for joining. Ben, you did a fantastic job on the keynote. I'm still thinking about it. You did so many great things on that, and what you talked about, you opened it up. Love that. Angelo, Carrie, all of the panel members, thank you for joining. A huge thank you to Laura for being a rock star and putting this all together. She really went over and above and crushed it. So thank you for that. I will work on my skills on running a video inside of a pitch deck. I obviously need some work on that. That's for the next one. And I just wanted to share a little story that when my brother and I this was probably, 20 years ago, in the early days of Call of Duty, when my brothers and I lived together, we would as soon as that game came out, we were front door waiting to buy that game. Each of us, we had to buy our own game, of course. So we would buy the game. We lived in the house, in a house together. We had speaker systems, not a word of a lie. We would drag and build cables so that we could attach speakers in our rooms so that we could yell at each other while we were playing. We never thought anything of this and turning this into a real business. And we would sit there, even though we were just 2 brothers playing on a video game.
Yeah, I'm still on this event. I'm just finishing off.
we would be crushing these games. And what was great about it was that we would go until 3 or 4 in the morning, and then we had to be at our job at 8 a.m. and we didn't want to sleep because it had to be the first one to finish the game. We had to go to the end. And all I remember is that I would show up at my job, sit down at my desk, and my fingers would go to AWS. And I was not even thinking of it. And I'd be like, why isn't this keyboard working? Because all I was thinking about was the video game that I just spent 10, 12 hours playing straight. So at the end of the day, it's a beautiful space. It's a big community, a lot of great people. It brings back a lot of memories. I'm a big fan, from all of the things that we've lived through. So thank you, everybody, for joining today. It's amazing that you can put a panel in a whole mini series together about something that I was passionate about, that I didn't get the chance to turn it into a business. And man, I love the fact that everybody has. So huge fan again, everybody. If you want to reach out, there's some emails. Feel free to connect to us. Everybody's posted their content and details on LinkedIn or on chat, and reach out anytime. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Well, just to wrap up, and just for the recording, I will say that today was fantastic. Really learned a lot, and took, plenty of notes. It's crazy, but I think at the end of the day, I really want to just emphasize that, to what Ben was getting to on the ignorance ruins perspective, is that get out there and build it. You want to be part of something, you want to learn how this gaming industry works, or you want to be part of where this gaming industry is going to go, you've got the perfect time to jump right in. And I think just to kind of encompass all of that, even the big brands are making a stance. They're starting to drive into this from a social standpoint. You've got micro opportunities that are going in from the people that want to be social and drive out that leadership role. From 5,000 to 10,000 followers is becoming a big opportunity as well. So I think that there's a lot of value in this space. And if you can find a way to build into it, build some passion and grow within this space, it's the perfect opportunity. It's really starting to bloom. And I think overall, the crossover from a persona to reality is really blending into one. And again, all of this stuff has been great to learn how people were looking at it across the board. A lot of great startups in the area, and you know what? You just got to do it, like Ben said. So thank you again for your time. Feel free to like, share, post, but what a great event. Enjoy your day, everybody.